Social intelligence is one of the most powerful tools you can develop in life. It's the ability to understand and respond to the people around you in a way that builds trust, creates strong relationships, and allows you to navigate any situation with confidence. In every interaction, whether at work, with friends, or even in everyday conversations, social intelligence can make all the difference. Think about the moments when you felt truly heard, truly understood. What was it about those interactions that made them stand out? Was it the way the person made you feel comfortable? Was it the way they listened? Or maybe it was the way they responded, knowing exactly how to make you feel valued. Those are signs of social intelligence in action, and the good news is, it's something you can develop too. This script will guide you through understanding the key aspects of social intelligence: how to read people, how to respond to them, and most importantly, how to use those insights to build stronger connections and influence others in a positive way. You'll learn the practical tools to navigate social situations with ease and authenticity. Whether it's handling difficult conversations, offering meaningful compliments, or leading with compassion, you'll walk away with actionable advice that you can start using right away. By the end of this, you'll understand how to build and maintain relationships that empower both you and those around you. You'll learn how to stay present, how to reflect on social mistakes to grow, and how to lead others with integrity and kindness. Social intelligence isn't just about knowing what to say. It's about truly understanding others and using that understanding to make a lasting impact. So, if you're ready to improve your connections and take your interactions to the next level, stay with me. Let's dive into the art of reading and responding to people, and how you can use it to achieve long-term success and personal growth. Chapter 1. Observe people closely to understand their true intentions. Most people move through the world on autopilot, missing the subtle signs that reveal someone's true thoughts, feelings, and intentions. They listen to what's said, but ignore what's unsaid. They look at faces, but fail to see through expressions. They assume they know people, but what they really know is the surface. And when things go wrong, when they're lied to, betrayed, manipulated, or misled, they say they didn't see it coming. The truth is, they weren't paying close enough attention. Learning to observe people closely is not about judging them or becoming suspicious of everyone. It's about sharpening your awareness and deepening your understanding of human behavior. When you can see someone as they are, not just how they present themselves, you give yourself the power to respond instead of react. You learn to protect your peace, choose your relationships wisely, and communicate in a way that honors truth over appearances. Observation begins with stillness, not physical stillness, but mental stillness. Most people are too distracted, too consumed by their own thoughts, emotions, or goals to really notice what's happening around them. Their minds are loud, so their perception is dull. But when you quiet your mind and give your full attention to the person in front of you, you begin to see things most people miss. You notice the hesitation in their voice, the nervous movement of their hands, the fleeting expression in their eyes when they speak. These are the moments where the truth lives. To observe people closely is to study them without judgment. You are not trying to label them as good or bad. You are simply trying to understand, and understanding requires you to slow down, to stop assuming, and to start looking. It means noticing what someone does when no one's watching, how they treat people they don't need, how their actions align or don't align with their words. It's in those gaps that the truth is found. A person's true intentions are rarely found in what they say when everything is going well. They're revealed in how they act when things are inconvenient, when their ego is challenged, when they don't get what they want, when they're under pressure. These moments strip away the mask. If you're observant, you'll catch it. If you're not, you'll be fooled. Start by observing people without trying to interpret. Just watch. Let go of your assumptions and your desire to figure them out immediately. Just notice. Notice what they choose to share about themselves and what they avoid. Notice how they speak about others. Pay attention to their energy when they walk into a room. People reveal far more through their presence than their words. Their tone, pace, posture, expressions, these are all channels of communication. If you pay attention, they'll tell you everything. When someone speaks, don't just listen to their words, watch their face. Do their words match their expression? Are they forcing a smile while talking about something that clearly bothers them? Are they speaking too quickly, too defensively, too vaguely? That's not just nervousness. It's data. It's a clue to something deeper. When you're present and aware, you start to pick up on these signals, and with enough time and practice, your ability to read people becomes second nature. You don't need to confront everyone with what you observe. Observation is not confrontation. It's clarity. It helps you decide where to give your time, attention and trust. It helps you understand who is aligned with your values and who is not. Not everyone who appears kind is genuine. Not everyone who praises you respects you. People can hide their motives with charm, but they can't fake consistency. They can fake interest for a while, but not over time. When you observe someone's behavior over time, patterns emerge, and those patterns never lie. Be especially observant during the transitions. When people are in new environments, under stress, or dealing with setbacks, they can't maintain the mask as easily. Their patience wears thin. Their priorities show. If someone treats you well when they want something, but becomes cold or distant once they get it, or when they realize they can't pay attention. If someone flatters you in private, but disrespects you in public, pay attention. These are not minor inconsistencies. These are signs of deeper character. The goal is not to catch people doing something wrong. The goal is to be rooted in reality, not fantasy. You cannot build strong relationships with imagined versions of people. You cannot grow if your trust is placed blindly. You must see clearly so you can act wisely. Clarity is power. It protects you. It helps you stay calm because you are no longer shocked when someone reveals who they are. You already saw it coming. Not because you're cynical, but because you're awake. In every interaction, practice being fully present. Watch how someone reacts when you set a boundary. Observe how they speak about their past, their goals, their failures. Are they accountable, or do they blame others? Are they consistent in their values, or do they change depending on who they're with? These are not trivial details, they are windows into character. Trust your observations, but don't rush to judgment. Be patient. People show you who they are in layers. Stay grounded. Stay curious. People are not puzzles to solve in one conversation. Sometimes the truth is revealed slowly, through time, through tension, through moments that don't seem important until you connect the dots. That's why it's critical to take your time with people. Don't overshare too early. Don't commit too soon. Let time show you what intention hides. Your ability to observe people closely is one of the most powerful skills you can develop, not only for your personal relationships, but for your professional life as well. In leadership, in business, in negotiation, in mentorship, the ability to read people, understand their motivations, and respond wisely separates those who lead from those who follow blindly. The better you see, the better you decide, and decision-making is everything. If someone seems too polished, too agreeable, too perfect, pay attention. Real people are layered. They have contradictions. They're not always charming or confident. They make mistakes. but they are honest about them. They are consistent over time. Anyone can act trustworthy once. Only the real ones sustain it. That's what you're watching for. Don't ignore red flags because you're emotionally invested. That's the quickest path to disappointment. If someone lies easily to others, they'll lie to you. If someone speaks ill of others behind their back, they'll do the same to you. If someone refuses to take responsibility for their actions, they will blame you when things fall apart. These behaviors are patterns, not accidents. Pay attention. It's not about being negative, it's about being wise. Practice this daily. Go out into the world and slow down. In your conversations, stop thinking about what you'll say next. Just listen. Just observe. What is their body doing? What are their eyes saying? Are they avoiding certain topics? Are they consistent in their values? You'll be surprised by how much people reveal when you're truly paying attention. Over time, you'll build a level of social intelligence that becomes your second nature. You'll trust yourself more. You'll make fewer emotional decisions. You'll surround yourself with people who are aligned with your values, not just your interests. You'll start to feel less drained by interactions, because you'll no longer waste your energy on people who don't deserve it. That is freedom. This is not a one-time skill. This is a lifelong practice. People are complex. They evolve. Their behavior shifts. And so must your awareness. Keep watching. Keep learning. Keep refining your judgment. Every conversation, every interaction is an opportunity to grow wiser. Not bitter, just wiser. Even in close relationships, observation matters. Don't take people for granted. Keep noticing them. Keep listening, even when you think you know them. People grow. They change. And sometimes they struggle silently. Being observant allows you to be supportive, not just reactive. It allows you to show up with presence, to offer what is truly needed, instead of what you assume is needed. There is strength in stillness, power in observation, wisdom in patience. Develop the habit of seeing beyond the surface. Don't just hear what people say. Feel what they're trying to express. Don't just nod politely. Engage with presence. Don't just assume you know people. Keep learning them. Keep understanding them. When you observe closely, you live wisely. You respond from clarity, not confusion. You protect your peace, and you build relationships rooted in reality. That's the path to a strong mind and a calm life. That's the foundation of true social intelligence. And it begins now, not tomorrow, not when life slows down. Right now, wherever you are, whoever you're with. Watch closely. Notice what others miss. Listen not just with your ears, but with your attention. Feel not just emotions, but energy. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes, and before long you'll stop being surprised by people's actions, because you'll already know what they're capable of. Not from assumption, but from observation. Master this, and you master one of the most important tools for resilience, strength and success in your life. Chapter 2. Listen deeply to what others truly mean. Most people hear to respond, not to understand. They wait for their turn to speak. They nod to seem polite, but their minds are elsewhere, already forming replies, already judging, already drifting away. But the real art of communication lies in listening, not just to the words, but to the message hidden underneath. To listen deeply is to give someone your complete presence. It's to hear what they're trying to say, even when they can't find the right words for it. It's the skill of tuning into someone's emotions, intentions, and silent struggles. True listening requires humility. You have to be willing to pause your own internal dialogue. You have to stop thinking about what you'll say next. You have to stop assuming you already know what the person means. You have to be still enough to receive not just the sound of their voice, but the texture of their experience. This is not a passive act. It's one of the most active, deliberate and respectful things you can do for another human being. When someone speaks to you, they're offering a piece of themselves. It may be raw, unfiltered, or clumsy, but it's a window into their world. If you brush past it, you miss them. If you're distracted by your phone, your thoughts, or your ego, they feel it. People know when you're not fully present. They sense when you're pretending to care, and when they do, they withdraw. Not always with words. Sometimes just with energy. You'll notice it in the way their tone softens, in the way their stories shorten, in the way they no longer open up like they used to. You don't need perfect answers. You don't need to fix people's problems. Most people aren't looking for solutions. They're looking to be seen. They want to feel heard without being corrected, judged, or analyzed. If you truly listen, you give them that gift. You create a space where trust can grow, not because you said the right thing, but because you made them feel safe enough to say the real thing. To listen deeply is to be fully engaged. You hear their words, yes, but more than that, you notice what's left unsaid. The pauses, the stumbles, the quiet sighs between sentences, the change in their breathing when they talk about something painful. These are not just background details, they're the message. Most people won't say exactly what they feel. Sometimes they can't. Sometimes they don't even know how. That's why you must listen beyond the obvious. Words can be confusing. People often use them to protect themselves. They downplay what hurts. They mask what's real. They pretend they're fine when they're not. Deep listening helps you see through this. You learn to ask, what are they really saying? You don't take everything at face value. You don't interrupt with your opinions. You sit with what they're expressing. You stay with the discomfort. You let silence do its work. People open up more in silence than in noise. When there's space to breathe, to think, to feel without pressure, they reveal their truth. But most people are uncomfortable with silence. They rush to fill it. They panic when there's a pause. They see it as awkward instead of sacred. But the silence after someone speaks is often where the truth begins. If you allow that moment, you'll hear things they didn't plan to say. You'll sense what they're afraid to admit. And that's when you really start to connect. Deep listening also means not making it about you. When someone is sharing their story, their feelings, their confusion, don't shift the spotlight to yourself. Don't jump in with your own example, no matter how similar it seems. Don't hijack their moment to show how much you relate. There is a time for sharing. But when someone is opening their heart, your job is not to match them. Your job is to witness them, fully, patiently, with no agenda. This kind of listening builds relationships that last. It strengthens trust, deepens understanding, and fosters mutual respect. It's what makes people feel safe with you. Safe to be honest, safe to be imperfect, safe to say what they really think without fear of being dismissed. And once you build that kind of connection, everything changes. Conversations become more meaningful. Conflicts become easier to resolve. Misunderstandings become less frequent. You stop assuming and start asking. You stop reacting and start understanding. Sometimes people will tell you something small, an offhand comment, a vague complaint, a subtle change in tone. If you're really listening, you'll catch it. You'll know there's more underneath. You'll lean in, you'll say, "Tell me more." And that simple phrase can open doors that otherwise stay locked. You don't need complex strategies. You just need attention, curiosity, and patience. Listening deeply also requires you to set aside your need to be right. It takes discipline to not defend yourself immediately when someone gives you feedback. It takes strength to listen to criticism without getting defensive. But if you can do that, you grow faster. You become emotionally resilient. You build stronger bonds. You don't take everything personally. You start to ask, is there truth in what they're saying? And even if it's painful, you use it to learn instead of lash out. To develop this skill, practice it everywhere. In every conversation, challenge yourself to be fully present. When someone is speaking, notice your own mind. Are you drifting off? Are you planning your reply? Are you judging their words? Gently bring yourself back. Focus on their eyes, their tone, their posture. Hear them with more than just your ears. Bring your whole awareness into the moment. You'll find that even brief conversations become more impactful. You'll begin to understand people faster. You'll see their intentions more clearly. And you'll be less surprised by their actions because you were paying attention all along. You'll notice when someone's being vague, when their words don't match their energy, when they're pretending everything's fine, but their voice says otherwise. These are signals. Noticing them changes everything. This isn't about becoming a mind reader. It's about becoming a better human being. Someone who sees, hears, and honors others without needing to dominate the space. It's about developing patience, humility, emotional discipline, and those qualities serve you in every area of life, at home, in business, in conflict, in leadership. People follow those who make them feel understood. People trust those who truly listen. It's not your charisma or charm that creates lasting influence. It's your ability to tune into what others need and respond without ego. There is a quiet strength in being a great listener. You learn more. You avoid unnecessary conflict. You build connections rooted in reality, not assumption. You become the kind of person people feel safe around, not because you have all the answers, but because you give them the space to find their own. To listen deeply is to train yourself to slow down in a fast world. It's to resist the urge to dominate. It's to master your own emotional reactions long enough to understand someone else's. That's rare, but it's powerful, and it's worth practicing every day, because in the end, it's not just about hearing others. It's about learning who they really are, so you can build a life with people you understand, respect, and trust, and so you can become someone they trust in return, not because you're always right, but because you're always listening. Keep listening, not for noise, but for truth. Not for validation, but for understanding. That's where real wisdom begins. That's where real relationships form. And that's where your strength as a person is tested and refined. Listen deeply, and you'll never again mistake volume for truth or charm for character. You'll know the difference, not because someone told you, but because you paid attention. Chapter 3. Ask thoughtful questions to build real human connection. Most people go through life craving connection, but never learning how to create it. They talk, but they don't connect. They speak, but it doesn't land. They want to be understood, but rarely ask the kind of questions that invite someone else to be fully seen. Real connection doesn't come from what you say about yourself. It comes from the questions you're willing to ask another person, the kind that shows you're curious about who they are beneath the surface, the kind that signals, I'm not just here to fill silence, I actually care. Asking thoughtful questions is not just a communication skill, it's a way of showing respect. When you ask someone a meaningful question, you're saying, your mind, your life, your experience matters to me. That one gesture opens people up. It allows them to drop their guard. They stop posturing, they stop pretending, and for a moment they get real. And that's the kind of moment most people never forget, because they don't happen often. We live in a world of small talk and noise, but every human being is waiting for someone to ask them something that actually means something. A powerful question isn't about being clever, it's about being intentional. It's about listening so closely that you know exactly where to go next. You're not looking for information to use, you're looking to understand. You're not trying to impress them with your insight, you're trying to uncover their truth. That kind of question lands differently. It makes people think. It makes them pause. It makes them feel like someone finally noticed something real inside them. You can't fake this. People can tell when your questions are shallow. They know when you're just making conversation. They know when your words are scripted and your attention is elsewhere. That doesn't create connection. That just fills time. If you want to build something lasting, you need to stop relying on default questions. Stop asking what everyone else asks. Stop living in surface-level exchanges that go nowhere. Go deeper. Ask what most people are afraid to ask. Not to invade, but to understand. Not to control, but to know. That's how trust starts to grow. Ask someone how they're really feeling about something, not just how they're supposed to feel. Ask them what they think when no one's around. Ask them about the moment that changed everything. Ask them what they've never said out loud before. Not everyone will answer right away. Some people will test you first. They'll give you vague replies to see if you're actually paying attention. That's your opportunity. Not to push, but to stay. To keep listening. To ask again, but this time, more gently, more personally, more like someone who's not just waiting for a reply, but who truly wants to hear it. The best connections are built in these moments. When two people aren't rushing, when there's space for honesty, when one person is brave enough to ask, and the other feels safe enough to answer. But that safety doesn't happen by accident. It's built slowly, question by question, moment by moment. If you want people to open up to you, you need to show them it's safe. And you do that by staying present, by not judging, by holding space even when the answer is messy, unclear, or emotional. Don't rush to solve, don't rush to interpret. Just be there. When you master the art of asking thoughtful questions, you start to see people differently. You don't label them by their job title or social role. You begin to see their values, their fears, their dreams, their history. You realize that every person you meet is a world waiting to be discovered, but only if you're willing to look past the surface. You won't always agree with what you find, but that's not the point. The point is to understand, to appreciate, and to see someone for who they truly are, not just for who they appear to be. There's a deep hunger in people to be known, but they rarely get asked the kind of questions that bring them into the light. So they keep parts of themselves hidden. They learn to smile and stay vague. They keep their real stories for themselves, and they go through life surrounded by people, but feeling completely unseen. You don't need to fix everyone's loneliness. You just need to not add to it. Be the person who sees what others miss. Ask the kind of questions that make someone feel human again. Thoughtful questions also shift the energy of any conversation. They break patterns. If someone's being defensive, ask them what they're afraid might happen. If someone's complaining, ask them what they actually want instead. If someone's being quiet, ask them what's been on their mind lately. Not in a way that pries, but in a way that shows you notice. Because most people are dying for someone to notice. Not their achievements, not their status, but their inner world, what they're carrying, what they're hoping for, what they're trying to work through. You don't need long, elaborate questions. Sometimes the simplest ones carry the most power. What was that like for you? How did that moment shape you? What made you feel that way? What do you wish people knew about you but never ask? These kinds of questions invite depth. They show you're not there for gossip or small talk. You're there because you value what's real, and people can feel that. They lean in when they sense you're not rushing to move on or waiting for your turn to talk. And if someone struggles to answer, don't panic. Silence doesn't mean you did something wrong. It means they're thinking. Give them space. Most people never get asked meaningful questions, so they're not used to having answers ready. But once they start trusting you, the words will come. You just have to give them time. You have to stay patient. That's where the connection is built, not in what you say, but in the space you hold for someone else to be honest. Ask people what they value most. Ask them what they've had to let go of. Ask them what they're proud of that no one ever acknowledges. Ask them what keeps them going when everything feels heavy. These are not questions you ask to pass time. These are questions that build bridges. Questions that help someone come home to themselves. And the beauty is, you grow too. When you listen deeply to someone's answers, your own world expands. You start to see new perspectives. You understand human nature more clearly. You become wiser, not just in knowledge but in presence. People remember those who ask them powerful questions because it's rare, because it's personal, because it changes something inside. And if you do it with sincerity, with no agenda, with no performance, those moments stick. You don't need a perfect personality. You don't need to be charismatic. You just need to be curious. Sincerely, quietly, without trying to lead the conversation somewhere. Just open, just present, just ready to follow wherever the real story leads. And here's the truth. Sometimes asking a deep question is the only way to truly meet someone. Everything else is filtered. Most people show only what they think is acceptable. But when you ask the right question at the right time, it's like unlocking a door they've kept closed for years. You won't always get an answer, but the invitation itself means something. It tells them they matter, that you see beyond the mask, that you're not afraid of who they are beneath it. If you want to build real human connection, learn to ask better questions, not to impress, not to manipulate, but to connect. Learn to be less interested in being interesting and more interested in being present. Most people are waiting to be discovered. You don't have to be anyone special to make that happen. You just have to care enough to ask, and then care enough to stay and listen. That's how relationships are built. That's how trust is earned, not through grand gestures or perfect speeches, but through the quiet, steady practice of being the person who asks the questions no one else thinks to ask, and then listens like the answer is the most important thing in the world, because in that moment it is. Chapter 4. Read body language to uncover hidden emotions fast. You can hear someone's words and still have no idea what they're really saying. You can listen carefully and still miss the entire message if your eyes are closed. That's the truth. Most people ignore. Communication isn't just about what someone says, it's about what their body reveals when their mouth is silent. Human beings express far more with their posture, gestures, micro-expressions, and subtle movements than they ever will with sentences. To understand someone fully, you have to observe what's unspoken. You have to tune in to the signals they're unconsciously giving off, especially in moments of stress, excitement, discomfort, or emotional vulnerability. Most people don't realize they're constantly leaking emotion through their body. Even when they try to hide it, their eyes twitch, their shoulders tense, their hands fidget, or their feet shift. You don't need a degree to notice these things. What you need is attention. You need presence. You need to train your mind to stop reacting to the words and start watching what's real. When someone says, "I'm fine," but their jaw is clenched and they're blinking too fast, something's off. When they laugh but their arms are tightly crossed and their legs are turned away from you, they're protecting something. Their words say one thing, but their body is telling you everything. Reading body language isn't about decoding people like puzzles. It's about being present enough to recognize emotional truth in real time. It's about paying attention when someone doesn't have the courage or doesn't feel safe enough to express themselves with words. You're not looking to expose or judge them. You're seeking to understand. There's a difference. You're tuning in so you can respond better, connect deeper, and create a space where authenticity feels possible. People don't open up to those who only hear their sentences. They open up to those who see what they're really feeling and still choose to stay. Some of the clearest emotional cues come through facial expressions. The face can shift in a fraction of a second, revealing a flinch of sadness, irritation, or surprise before the person regains control. These are called micro-expressions, and they're windows into emotional truth. You'll miss them if you're not paying close attention. But once you become aware, you start noticing how often someone's real feelings slip through the cracks. A forced smile that doesn't reach the eyes. A quick flash of contempt before they nod in agreement. A raised brow when something doesn't sit right. These signals may be small, but they speak volumes. They tell you when someone is aligned with their words and when they're just playing along. Then there's posture. When someone is open, their body is relaxed, their chest is forward, their arms are uncrossed, and they lean in slightly. When someone is guarded, their body tightens, they pull away, they create distance without even realizing it. That shift is powerful. It tells you whether someone feels comfortable, threatened, bored, or interested. You'll see it when you bring up certain topics. Watch how their posture changes. That tells you what matters to them, what unsettles them, what draws them in. Eye contact is another powerful signal. Not just whether they're looking at you, but how they're looking. Are their eyes steady or darting? Do they maintain connection, or do they glance away often? Some people avoid eye contact when they're nervous, insecure, or hiding something. Others stare too intensely in an attempt to dominate or deceive. But real connection usually involves a natural rhythm of eye contact, focused but not forceful, open but not invasive. You can feel it when it's genuine. You can feel it when it's off. Hands often reveal what the mouth conceals. Watch what people do with their fingers, their palms, their gestures. Nervous people tap, fidget, scratch, or rub their neck. Confident people gesture openly, showing their palms, using expressive but smooth movements. People who are hiding something often touch their face more, cover their mouth, or place objects between themselves and the person they're speaking to. These aren't conscious choices, they're protective instincts. The body tries to shield itself when it feels exposed. If you notice this, it doesn't mean you confront them. It means you slow down. You build more trust. You make space for safety before diving deeper. Feet tell stories too. Most people don't realize it, but the direction of someone's feet shows where they want to go. If their upper body is facing you but their feet are pointed toward the door, there's internal tension. They may be trying to stay polite while mentally exiting the conversation. People whose feet are planted and angled toward you are usually engaged and present. It's subtle, but once you start noticing, it's incredibly telling. Even the way someone breathes reveals emotional cues. Shallow breathing often signals anxiety or discomfort. Deep sighs may show relief or frustration. Sudden pauses in breath can mean emotional overwhelm or hesitation. People who are emotionally neutral tend to have rhythmic, balanced breathing. But when emotions get triggered, breath becomes uneven. And if you're paying attention, you'll catch it. You'll see the moment someone gets nervous or hurt, even if they don't say a word. But reading body language isn't just about collecting signals, it's about interpreting them in context. No gesture means the same thing in every situation. You have to read clusters of behavior. A single crossed arm could mean someone's cold, not that they're closed off. But if their arms are crossed, their legs are turned away, their jaw is tight, and they're not making eye contact, that's a pattern. That tells a clearer story. Always read the whole picture, not just one frame, and never jump to conclusions. Reading body language is about awareness, not accusation. You're not here to catch people in lies. You're here to better understand the emotions underneath the moment. Sometimes people are closed off because they've been hurt before. Sometimes they fidget because they're anxious, not because they're being dishonest. Be slow to judge. Be fast to empathize. If you notice someone's discomfort, adjust your approach. Create more ease. Back off when necessary. Lean in with kindness, not control. The more you observe people, the more you start to sense what they're not saying. You develop emotional radar. You can walk into a room and feel tension before anyone speaks. You can sense when someone is drained, even if they're smiling. You can pick up on disconnects between someone's tone and their posture. That kind of awareness changes everything. It makes your conversations more impactful. It helps you navigate conflict more gracefully. It allows you to protect your energy and respond with clarity. This isn't manipulation. This is awareness. It's the discipline of seeing reality clearly, not just through words but through presence. And presence means watching, listening, feeling the space between what's said and what's actually meant. When you move through the world with this kind of perception, people trust you more. They feel understood, even when they don't know how to express what they're feeling. They sense that you see them, not just hear them. And you grow too. Because every time you accurately read someone's body language, you gain deeper insight into human behavior. You understand what people need when they're struggling. You respond with patience when others lash out. You recognize insecurity behind arrogance. You see fear behind silence. You start to become a calming presence, someone who navigates relationships with clarity and wisdom. Mastering this art doesn't happen in a day. It comes from practicing presence over and over again, from watching closely and reflecting honestly, from being quiet enough to see instead of constantly reacting. And every time you do this, your emotional intelligence sharpens. Your ability to lead, connect and build trust grows stronger. You stop missing the moments that matter. You become the person who knows when to speak, when to stay, and when to just offer your presence in silence. Most people want to be understood, but they don't know how to show what they're feeling. Their body does it for them. If you care enough to see it, you'll be able to respond to people in a way that makes them feel safe, respected, and seen. And that's a rare gift. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being present enough to notice what others overlook. It's about honoring the truth of the moment, even when no words are spoken. That's the power of reading body language. That's how you uncover hidden emotions and build real human connection. Chapter 5. Notice tone of voice. to feel emotional shifts instantly. You can tell a lot about how someone feels not by what they say, but by how they say it. The words might be polished, polite, and well-structured, but it's the tone underneath that reveals the truth. People don't always have the courage to express what's really going on inside, but their voice often betrays them. You hear it in the sudden sharpness of a response, the quiet hesitation in their speech, or the subtle break between words. Emotion always seeps through tone. If you want to truly understand someone, if you want to stay one step ahead in your relationships, if you want to feel when something shifts in a conversation, listen closely to the voice, not just the vocabulary. Tone is the emotional fingerprint of speech. Every fluctuation, every pause, every rise and fall in someone's voice tells you more than the words alone ever could. When you start tuning in to tone, you begin to catch changes instantly. You can sense frustration behind a calm sentence. You can feel anxiety creeping into a casual comment. You can recognize when someone's energy drops, even if they're still speaking with enthusiasm. The shifts are subtle, but they're there, and once you start noticing them, you can't unhear them. You become more alert, more intuitive, more connected to the undercurrent of human emotion. Most people are too distracted to catch these changes. They're waiting for their turn to speak, or locked into what they want to say next. They miss the shift in energy, the softening of a phrase, the tension wrapped around a sentence. But when you give someone your full attention, not just with your ears but with your presence, you start to hear everything. The sharp edges in their voice when they're holding something back, the sudden softness when they mention something that matters deeply, the clipped tone when they feel judged, the rushed delivery when they're covering up nervousness. These are the signals that matter. These are the cues that reveal the inner world behind the mask. It doesn't take special skills, it takes practice. It takes slowing down and truly listening. You have to listen with the intention to understand, not to respond. That means noticing not just what's said, but how it's delivered. A sentence can mean 10 different things depending on how it's spoken. I'm fine can sound strong, bitter, sarcastic, heartbroken, or detached. The tone tells you which one it is. If you ignore the tone, you'll misunderstand the message. And if you misunderstand the message, you respond to the wrong emotion. That's how disconnection happens, not because we don't care, but because we're not really listening. Tone can rise when someone feels defensive. It can fall when they're losing hope. It can go flat when they're emotionally exhausted. It can become tight when they're trying to hold something back. Each of these shifts tells a different story. Each one offers a chance to respond with more empathy. But if you miss the shift, you'll miss the moment to connect. You'll push when you should pause. You'll talk when you should just listen. You'll rush when you should slow down. Emotional awareness is about timing, and timing comes from recognizing emotional shifts in real time. That begins with tone. You can hear discomfort when someone answers too quickly, their words tumbling out to cover silence. You can sense irritation when their words come with a sharp edge, a clipped rhythm that wasn't there before. You can pick up on sadness when their sentences start to slow down, when their voice drops in pitch, when the energy fades from their speech. You can feel joy when their tone lifts naturally, when their laugh is light and real, not forced or polite. Every emotion has a sound. You just have to start matching those sounds with what's really going on beneath the surface. But it's not just about others. Learning to notice tone of voice also helps you master your own emotional responses. You become more aware of how you come across. You begin to catch yourself when your tone becomes harsh, impatient, or indifferent. You start to recognize how your words land on others, not just in meaning, but in emotional impact. That self-awareness allows you to adjust. It gives you the ability to soften your delivery, to shift your tone to match the moment, to repair tension before it escalates. Emotional intelligence isn't just about what you feel, it's about how what you feel affects the people around you. And tone is the bridge between your emotions and their experience. Some people speak in a monotone because they've trained themselves to suppress feeling. Others speak in exaggerated tones because they're constantly trying to be heard. Both reveal something about their inner world. A flat tone doesn't mean someone doesn't care. It might mean they've been shut down for a long time. A loud tone doesn't always mean aggression. It could be insecurity, fear of being ignored, or a learned habit from chaotic environments. When you learn to hear the difference, you stop reacting and start understanding. You stop taking everything personally. You start asking better questions. You give people space to be real. Listening to tone also helps you sense when to go deeper and when to back off. When someone's tone shifts from open to closed, from playful to guarded, from relaxed to tense, you know the conversation has reached an emotional threshold. That's not the time to push harder. That's the time to create safety, to slow your voice down, to lower your own tone, to invite, not demand. Real emotional connection happens when two people feel safe enough to be honest. Tone plays a massive role in creating or destroying that safety. Some emotional shifts are so subtle, they barely register unless you're deeply present. A slight drop in pitch when someone feels disappointed. A sudden pause in their rhythm when a memory hits. A hesitation before a word that holds weight. These moments pass quickly, but they hold truth. If you hear them, you can respond with real empathy. If you miss them, the moment disappears. And the person walks away feeling unseen, not because you didn't care, but because you weren't fully there. The more you train yourself to listen for tone, the faster you become at recognizing emotional changes in any situation. In conversations, in meetings, in arguments, in quiet moments, you begin to notice the difference between surface talk and emotional truth. You feel the shift when someone becomes unsure. You sense the tension when a topic hits a nerve. You catch the excitement in their voice when something matters. You hear more than the words, you hear the feeling. This makes you more powerful in every area of life. In leadership, it makes you more attuned to your team's morale. In relationships, it deepens your connection. In conflict, it helps you de-escalate before damage is done. In parenting, it helps you support your children before they shut down. In friendship, it helps you show up for someone who doesn't know how to ask. Emotional shifts are constant. Most people are too distracted to notice. But if you slow down, if you really listen, you'll feel them instantly. And you'll know exactly how to respond, not from a script but from presence. This is not about being perfect. It's about being available. It's about developing a kind of emotional radar that tunes into the unspoken. It's about choosing to be more sensitive, not more reactive. The truth is, tone of voice is a language of its own. It carries layers of emotion that the words never touch. If you learn to speak that language, you connect in ways most people never experience. You understand before someone explains. You care before someone asks. You show up in the exact moment you're needed, not because you were told, but because you felt it. And over time, you become a calming presence. The kind of person others trust. The kind of person who doesn't just hear them, but hears what they're going through. The kind of person who doesn't miss the emotional shift, who responds in real time, with real care. That's the power of tone. That's how you learn to feel emotion the moment it changes, and build relationships that are real, deep, and lasting. Chapter 6. Practice empathy to understand how others feel inside. Empathy is the rare skill of feeling what someone else feels without needing to go through their experience yourself. It's what separates shallow connection from something deeper and lasting. To practice empathy means to step outside of your own thoughts, opinions, and assumptions long enough to feel what another person is experiencing on the inside. Not just to understand their words, but to sense the weight behind them. Not just to hear their story, but to imagine what it must be like to live it. The more you do this, the more human you become. You stop judging so quickly. You stop reacting so harshly. You begin to see people as complex and layered, not just as who they appear to be on the surface. To practice empathy is to shift your attention away from yourself. It's to say, let me feel what they might be feeling right now. That's not easy. Most people are too caught up in their own emotions to even try. But if you want to connect on a real level, if you want people to feel safe around you, seen by you, understood by you, you have to practice tuning into others without immediately filtering their experience through your own. You have to listen, not to reply, not to fix, not to judge, but to feel, and feeling requires silence, presence, and a willingness to set aside your own story long enough to enter theirs. You won't always have the right words. Sometimes there are no words. But empathy is not about perfect phrases. It's about emotional presence. It's about letting someone know, without needing to say much, that you get it, that you feel what they're going through, that they're not alone in it. And when someone feels that from you, their defenses lower, their pain softens, their guard drops. Because deep down, every person just wants to feel understood. When they do, healing begins. Empathy also means looking beyond behavior. When someone is cold, sharp, or distant, you ask yourself why. You don't excuse it, but you look deeper. Maybe it's not personal. Maybe they're hurting. Maybe they don't know how to ask for help. Maybe they've never felt safe enough to open up. Empathy looks beneath the surface. It doesn't react to the mask, it responds to the wound beneath the mask. You stop taking everything at face value. You begin to feel what's behind the actions, behind the silence, behind the words that don't quite match the tone. You develop the ability to say, there's something more going on here. And that ability is everything. It also means checking your instinct to compare. People don't need to hear, I went through something similar. They don't need you to turn their moment into your story. They need space to have their experience, without it being minimized or redirected. Empathy resists the urge to center yourself. It says, this is not about me right now. It's about them. And that shift in focus is where real connection begins. You don't have to relate to understand. You don't have to agree to care. You just have to be present enough to imagine what it feels like to be them in this moment. You begin to feel someone's heaviness when their energy changes. You notice the way their words carry more weight than usual. You sense the quiet in their body, the tension in their shoulders, the sadness they're trying to keep behind their eyes. Empathy teaches you to pay attention to these things, to not rush past them, to create space for someone else's truth. You learn to stop trying to fix people. You learn to sit with them in their discomfort, not because you enjoy it, but because you know how powerful it is for someone to feel accompanied in their struggle. It's not about solutions, it's about solidarity. The truth is, most people already know what they need to do. They don't need advice nearly as much as they need someone to believe in them while they figure it out. someone to stay close without trying to take over, someone who trusts their process without needing to speed it up. Empathy is patient. It lets people move at their own pace. It doesn't pressure them to be okay before they're ready. It allows them to feel without shame, and that kind of space is rare. To practice empathy daily, you have to slow down. You have to notice more than just what's obvious. You have to train yourself to see pain even when it's hidden behind a smile. You have to catch hesitation in a sentence and wonder what it means. You have to notice when someone's voice is softer than usual, or when they seem like they're pretending to be fine. Empathy means paying attention to the little things, the ones most people overlook because they're too focused on themselves. You become the person who sees what others miss. But it also means being strong enough to feel what others feel without letting it crush you. Empathy is not weakness, it's strength with sensitivity. It's the ability to hold space for others without losing your own center. You don't have to absorb everyone's emotions to care. You don't have to break with them to support them. You simply have to stay close enough to feel it and solid enough not to collapse under it. That balance takes maturity. It takes emotional discipline. It takes boundaries, not walls. When you practice empathy regularly, your relationships shift. People start to open up to you more. They trust you without needing to explain everything. They feel safer in your presence because they know you won't rush their emotions or invalidate their experience. You become a calming force. You become someone others lean on, not because you have all the answers, but because you're one of the few people who actually listens, feels, and stays present. Empathy also helps you navigate conflict more wisely. Instead of reacting to someone's anger, you ask what pain it might be covering. Instead of attacking back, you pause and consider what fear or insecurity might be driving their behavior. This doesn't mean you accept mistreatment. It means you understand the emotional root of it, and from that understanding you choose your response wisely. Empathy gives you more options. It stops you from escalating things unnecessarily. It helps you respond with clarity instead of emotion, and that leads to deeper resolution. The more empathy you develop, the more connected you feel to humanity. You stop seeing people as problems or threats. You start seeing them as fellow human beings trying to figure life out just like you. You see their pain, their struggle, their confusion, and instead of judging them, you feel a quiet compassion for them. That shift in perspective changes how you show up. It changes the energy you bring into a room. It changes how you handle difficult people, how you support loved ones, how you move through your day. Empathy becomes the filter through which you see the world, and it makes everything feel more human, more real, more grounded. You begin to understand that everyone is fighting a battle you can't see. That people's behavior often makes sense if you knew what they've been through. That most rudeness is a defense mechanism. That silence is often protection. That anger is usually a symptom of deeper pain. When you begin to see this, you stop reacting to the surface. You begin responding to what's underneath. And that response creates a ripple effect. It softens people. It disarms them. It opens the door for healing and honesty. Practicing empathy doesn't mean you always get it right. Sometimes you'll miss cues. Sometimes your presence won't be enough. Sometimes your silence will feel inadequate. But keep practicing. The effort matters. The intention behind it matters. The more you choose to lean in instead of pulling away, the more you develop the emotional muscle to be with people in their hardest moments. And that ability is priceless. It's rare, it's real, and it's needed more than ever. In a world full of noise, judgment and speed, empathy is the quiet force that heals. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't try to be right. It simply stays present, and that presence says, I see you, I feel you, I'm with you. Those are the words that matter most, even when they're never spoken. Because when empathy is real, people feel it. And when people feel it, something inside them begins to breathe again. Something begins to trust. Something begins to soften. That's the power of practicing empathy every single day. Chapter 7. Speak clearly to earn trust and show confidence. Speaking clearly is one of the most powerful tools you can use to shape how others see you and how they respond to you. When your words are direct, steady, and purposeful, people naturally listen more closely. Clarity in speech shows that you are confident in your thinking, secure in your message, and in control of your emotions. It's not just about choosing the right words. It's about delivering them in a way that makes others feel certain that you believe what you say. Every time you speak, people are not just hearing your voice, they are sensing your self-assurance, measuring your consistency, and deciding whether they can rely on you. When you speak clearly, you leave no room for confusion. You strip away unnecessary fluff, over-explanations, or nervous rambling, and instead get straight to the point. This doesn't mean you rush your words or speak with arrogance. It means you communicate your message with simplicity and strength. People trust those who speak with clarity because it signals that you've taken the time to think deeply and you're not hiding behind vague words or passive expressions. They know where you stand, and in a world full of mixed signals and double meanings, that's rare and refreshing. Confidence is not loud. Confidence doesn't need to shout. It's the steady tone, the grounded delivery, and the clear expression of your thoughts that signals strength. You don't have to use big words or overcompensate with force. You just have to mean what you say, and say it with calm certainty. That alone sets you apart. So many people talk just to fill silence, but when you speak clearly, you speak with purpose. Your words have weight because they're not scattered or rushed. You slow down, you breathe, you make sure every sentence lands with intention. Clear speech earns trust because it removes doubt. People don't need to wonder what you meant. They don't have to read between the lines. They can follow your message from start to finish without second-guessing your meaning. That ease of communication builds connection. It gives others a sense of security, a sense that you know what you're doing and that they can rely on your word. And in relationships, business, leadership, or personal growth, that trust is the foundation of everything. But to speak clearly, you have to think clearly. That means taking time to understand your own thoughts before expressing them. It means becoming aware of the message you want to send and the impact you want your words to have. It requires discipline. Most people speak reactively. They blurt things out without reflection. But when you speak with clarity, it shows that you've taken responsibility for your communication. You've thought things through, and that quiet preparation is what builds credibility over time. Speaking clearly also helps you avoid unnecessary conflict. So much tension in conversations comes from misunderstanding, miscommunication, or emotional reactivity. But when your words are clear and your tone is steady, you lower the chances of being misunderstood. You remove ambiguity. You reduce emotional noise. People know what you're trying to say, and that allows for smoother communication. They don't have to guess your intentions. They don't have to interpret your mood. Your clarity gives them clarity. It's also a sign of respect. When you speak with clarity, you respect other people's time and attention. You're not wasting their energy trying to figure out what you mean. You're not dancing around the topic or avoiding directness. You are honest, transparent, and intentional. That kind of speech earns respect in return. It shows maturity. It shows that you take communication seriously. And when people feel respected by how you speak to them, they become more open, more willing to listen, and more likely to trust you. You also come across as more capable when your speech is clear and composed. In situations where emotions run high or stakes are elevated, the person who can stay calm and communicate clearly becomes the leader, even without a title. Others look to them for direction. They follow the one who can articulate ideas without spiraling or overreacting. That's the power of clear speech. It becomes your anchor in moments of uncertainty. It helps you stay grounded when everything else is loud and messy. To develop that clarity, practice is essential. Start by slowing down when you speak. Many people rush their words out of nervousness or fear of silence. But speaking slowly shows composure. It gives you time to choose your words. It helps your listener absorb what you're saying. Silence between words isn't a weakness, it's a strength. It shows that you're in control of the pace and the message. The more comfortable you become with silence, the more powerful your voice becomes. Another way to practice clear communication is by simplifying your language. You don't need to sound intellectual or overly complex. Simplicity is strength. The best communicators can explain complex ideas in a way that anyone can understand. They don't hide behind jargon or ambiguity. They strip everything down to the essence, and that makes their message stick. That makes people trust what they say, because they understand it clearly. You also need to remove filler words and habits that weaken your message. Words like, like, or phrases that diminish your own point, such as I'm not sure, but, or this might sound stupid, but should be replaced with more confident, direct language. You don't need to apologize for speaking. You don't need to preface everything with doubt. When you cut these habits, your words land stronger. You sound more sure of yourself, and that confidence translates into how others perceive you. Tone plays a major role in how your clear message is received. You can say the right words with the wrong tone, and it will lose all effectiveness. But when your tone matches your message, firm when needed, warm when appropriate, calm in conflict, your speech becomes persuasive. People don't just hear what you say, they feel that you mean it. They trust the emotional signal behind your words. That's what builds rapport. That's what makes your words memorable. Speaking clearly is not about being robotic or overly formal. It's about being real, intentional, and emotionally present in your words. It's about connecting with people through speech that feels grounded and authentic. When you're genuine, people feel it. When you speak with clarity and heart, they listen more closely. You don't need to be flashy or dramatic. You just need to be steady and clear, and your message will carry. This clarity also helps in high-pressure moments. When stress rises, most people panic or stumble. But if you've trained yourself to stay focused and speak clearly under pressure, you immediately stand out. You become the calm in the storm. People look to you for leadership. That's not something you fake in the moment. It's something you build through repetition. You train yourself to stay composed. You rehearse important conversations in your head. You study your speech patterns and correct what weakens them. You take ownership of how you come across. When people hear you speak with precision and poise, they remember you. Your words leave an impression. Your presence lingers. You don't have to speak often to make an impact. You just have to make sure that when you do speak, your message is clear, your voice is steady, and your intention is felt. Over time, that consistency builds your reputation. It creates opportunities. It earns trust. Clear speech is also a form of personal integrity. When your words reflect your values, when you say what you mean and follow through on it, you show people that your voice can be relied on. That's rare. So many people speak impulsively or out of convenience. But when you speak with integrity and clarity, people respect you. They know you're not just talking to sound good. You're speaking with substance. To speak clearly is to lead without force, to build trust without pressure, to show confidence without arrogance. It's the kind of communication that brings people together, reduces confusion, and strengthens relationships. It's how you build influence, one sentence at a time. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to impress to be remembered. You just have to speak in a way that feels true, clean, and focused. And when you do, the impact of your words becomes undeniable. Chapter 8. Mirror positive behavior to connect with people better. People naturally feel drawn to those who reflect back a sense of warmth, understanding, and genuine attention. When you mirror someone's positive behavior, you're not pretending to be someone else. You're meeting them at their level of emotional openness. This creates a subtle harmony that breaks down walls between you. It's not about copying people mechanically. It's about tuning into their energy and aligning your behavior in a way that makes them feel seen, heard, and respected. When you do this well, you build connection without trying too hard. You make people feel comfortable around you because you're not forcing your presence. You're matching theirs with quiet attentiveness and real presence. The truth is, human beings are wired for connection, and a big part of that connection is built non-verbally. The way we hold ourselves, the way we gesture, the rhythm of our speech, even our facial expressions, all of these things matter deeply when it comes to building rapport. When you subtly reflect back someone's positive behavior, like their openness, their relaxed body language, their genuine smile, you create a silent bridge of understanding. People won't always know why they feel safe around you, but they will. Because mirroring creates a feeling of trust. It sends the message, I see you, I get you, I respect you. This isn't about manipulation, it's about building deeper human connections by being intentional with your presence. Mirroring positive behavior is a quiet signal of empathy. It says, I'm with you, I value what you're sharing. I'm engaged, not just with your words, but with who you are. And the most powerful thing is, this kind of mirroring often happens below the surface. It's not always about making the same gesture or repeating someone's words. Sometimes, it's simply about adopting the same emotional openness, the same relaxed tone, or the same grounded energy. You don't have to overthink it. You just have to be present enough to notice what kind of energy the other person is bringing, and then match it with your own positive intent. When you're around someone who is calm, kind, and warm, and you mirror that warmth back with your own grounded demeanor, you amplify the connection. You reinforce their emotional state, and that mutual reinforcement builds trust. When two people reflect each other's positive energy, a feedback loop of trust begins. It deepens with each moment of shared presence. That's how real connection happens, not through perfect words or rehearsed responses, but through small signals of attunement that say, we're on the same page. Think about the people you naturally feel good around. They probably make you feel understood without needing to say much. They likely match your energy in a subtle, non-intrusive way. They smile when you smile. They relax when you do. Their posture feels open, their tone feels familiar, and their reactions feel in sync with yours. That's the power of mirrored behavior. It creates an emotional rhythm between two people that allows for easier trust and faster understanding. It removes the awkwardness that often slows down connection and replaces it with comfort. The key to doing this effectively is awareness. You can't mirror what you don't notice. That means you have to actually pay attention, not just to someone's words, but to how they say them. Their tone, their body language, their level of excitement or calm. You have to observe without judgment. When you do, you begin to pick up on emotional cues that others miss. You begin to see when someone is opening up or shutting down. You notice when they lean in or pull back. And from there you can respond in a way that meets them where they are. But again, the goal is never to copy. Copying feels inauthentic. Mirroring is more about alignment. If someone is speaking in a relaxed and thoughtful tone, you respond with that same level of steadiness and presence. If someone lights up with excitement, you don't stay flat and distant. You allow yourself to reflect some of that energy back, not to please them, but to connect with them. You're not trying to manipulate emotion, you're trying to meet them with presence. You're showing them that you're right there with them. Emotionally engaged. People feel safe when they're with someone who reflects their state of mind in a calm and balanced way. This is especially important in emotionally charged conversations. If someone is anxious and you respond with agitation, you amplify the tension. But if you meet that anxiety with grounded calmness, if you stay centered while gently mirroring their concern with compassion, they'll begin to regulate themselves naturally. Your calm presence helps bring them back into balance, and that kind of emotional leadership doesn't require any grand gesture. It's felt in how you breathe, how you listen, and how you show up with patience. Mirroring also helps during first impressions. When meeting someone new, matching their energy helps build immediate rapport. If they're relaxed and you're stiff or overly intense, it creates dissonance. But if you mirror their pace, tone, and general demeanor, they feel more at ease. They see you as familiar, and familiarity breeds comfort. That's why great communicators don't just speak well, they listen deeply, and they adjust their presence to match the energy of the moment. It's not about being fake, it's about being flexible, adaptable, and emotionally intelligent. This skill becomes even more powerful in leadership, negotiation, or coaching. When you're guiding others, your ability to mirror positive behavior creates alignment. People become more open to your influence, not because you're demanding respect, but because you're demonstrating understanding. You're showing that you can lead without overpowering, that you can connect without trying too hard, that you can relate without pretending. And that subtle strength builds trust quickly. It builds cooperation. It builds the foundation for meaningful conversations that lead to real progress. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You begin to notice the emotional climate of a room the moment you enter. You sense shifts in energy, and you adjust your tone, your posture, your presence accordingly, not out of fear but out of awareness. This awareness gives you a kind of emotional fluidity. You don't get stuck in your own world. You move with others, not against them. You meet them with respect, not resistance, and that emotional flow makes communication smoother, more efficient, and more honest. This also helps you disarm defensiveness. When people feel mirrored, they feel validated. They don't feel the need to defend their emotions or explain themselves constantly. They sense that you get them, that you're on their side, and that sense of mutual understanding creates safety. It opens people up. It allows for more vulnerable conversations. That's where real growth and healing happen, in the space of mutual understanding created through subtle mirroring of positive presence. You also begin to model emotional maturity for others. When people see you staying calm, listening with interest, smiling with warmth, and responding with patience, they often rise to that same level. Your positive behavior sets a tone, and when you mirror others' better qualities, you remind them of who they are at their best. You reflect back their strengths. That encouragement, even if unspoken, can help someone feel more confident in themselves. That's the gift of presence. You help people access their better nature just by meeting them with yours. There will be times when someone is closed off, cold or defensive. In these moments, mirroring doesn't mean copying that coldness. It means staying grounded in your own positive behavior. Sometimes, mirroring can mean choosing not to reflect negativity, but instead holding a steady warmth that invites the other person to shift their energy. You don't match their defensiveness. You mirror the behavior you want to see more of. That's leadership. That's emotional discipline. And over time, it's that steadiness that causes others to soften, open up, and connect more deeply. When you mirror positive behavior consistently, you create a ripple effect. People feel good around you, even if they can't explain why. They feel accepted, not judged, understood, not dismissed, and that emotional safety makes them more likely to engage with you honestly. It fosters cooperation, collaboration, and loyalty. That's how you build influence, not through control but through connection. And connection is built through presence, empathy, and positive mirroring. You don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to care enough to try, care enough to notice, care enough to show up with an open mind and an open heart. Every interaction is a chance to connect deeper. Every moment is a chance to mirror back someone's best self and strengthen the human bond between you. If you stay committed to this, if you keep practicing the habit of aligning with people's positive energy, you'll notice how much easier it becomes to connect, to influence, and to build trust that lasts. Chapter 9. Control your emotions to stay calm under pressure. Under pressure, your emotions can either be your worst enemy or your greatest weapon. The difference lies in whether you allow them to control you or you learn to manage them with precision. Most people break down when life gets intense, not because the pressure is too great, but because their emotional state becomes unstable. They react too quickly, speak too soon, or shut down completely. But the person who learns to recognize the storm inside without letting it take over becomes unshakable. Calm is not just a feeling. It's a decision you train yourself to make, even when everything around you is loud, urgent, or chaotic. The first step to mastering your emotions is to accept that they are not always a reliable guide. Feelings can mislead you when they aren't examined. A moment of frustration can make you say something you regret. A flash of fear can cause you to abandon something important. When pressure builds, your instincts often tell you to protect yourself by reacting, by lashing out, or by retreating. But real strength lies in noticing what you feel and choosing a wiser response anyway. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing what you feel. It means noticing the fire, standing next to it, and choosing not to throw yourself into it. There is immense power in stillness. When the world around you becomes chaotic, being calm under pressure gives you clarity. It helps you see beyond the panic, beyond the fear, beyond the noise. And that clarity allows you to act wisely instead of reacting emotionally. When people lose their temper or spiral into anxiety, they lose their ability to see clearly. But when you breathe deeply, hold your ground, and slow your internal pace, you regain control of the moment. And in that space of control, you get to choose your next move with strength instead of weakness. You must develop the discipline to pause, That pause is the most valuable tool you have when stress shows up. When something triggers you, when someone disrespects you, when the situation becomes tense, don't speak immediately. Don't act on your first impulse. Let your thoughts settle for a few seconds. That gap between what happens and how you respond is where emotional mastery is built. In that space, you have a chance to step back, observe your feelings, and decide how you want to show up. Do you want to add more chaos, or do you want to bring order? Do you want to lose control, or do you want to lead yourself with strength? Calm is contagious. When you remain composed in difficult situations, people look to you as a source of stability. You become the one others trust when things get tough. Not because you always have the answers, but because you don't lose yourself in the problem. You become the steady hand in the storm. And being that kind of person begins with inner discipline. You can't wait until the crisis hits to decide to be calm. You must practice calmness daily when things are quiet, so you're ready when they're not. You must train your nervous system to stay balanced through discomfort, frustration, or uncertainty. One of the most effective ways to build this control is through breath. Your breath is the anchor to your emotions. When you breathe shallow and fast, you activate stress. When you slow your breath, you regulate your nervous system. You calm your body, and in doing so, calm your mind. When you're under pressure, the most immediate control you have is over your breath. Use it, slow it, deepen it. Center yourself with it. That simple act signals to your brain that you are safe, and that safety allows you to think clearly again. You're not a victim of the moment. You're still in control. But breath alone won't help if your thoughts are out of control. That's why you must take responsibility for the story you tell yourself in the heat of the moment. Under pressure, people often think the worst. They imagine disaster. They catastrophize. That fuels panic. You must replace that inner dialogue with something grounded and constructive. Tell yourself, this is tough, but I can handle it. Remind yourself, I've faced stress before and come through stronger. Shift your thoughts from fear to strategy, from helplessness to action, from reaction to leadership. That shift doesn't happen by accident. You have to train yourself to redirect your mind every single time it starts to spiral. Self-talk matters under pressure. It's your mental oxygen. It keeps you alive when others are drowning in their panic. Speak to yourself with authority and calm. Use words that ground you, not words that amplify your fear. Say to yourself, stay focused. Stay calm. You know what matters. You know how to handle this. Repeating that kind of message, even silently, keeps your emotional state steady. You become your own anchor, and when you're anchored, pressure loses its power over you. Understand this clearly. Pressure is not going away. Life will keep testing you. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will shift. Deadlines will approach. Problems will come unexpectedly. Your peace cannot depend on everything going smoothly. It must depend on how prepared you are to stay grounded, no matter what happens. Calmness is not about avoiding conflict. It's about facing it without losing your composure. It's about being steady in the fire, not immune to it, but not destroyed by it either. One of the reasons people lose control under pressure is because they feel attacked or threatened. When something unexpected happens, the ego kicks in. It wants to protect itself. It wants to defend, to fight, or to run. But the ego is not a wise guide. It's reactive and insecure. You must rise above your ego if you want to lead yourself with grace. Detach from the need to win every argument or prove every point. Detach from the belief that your emotions must be expressed immediately. Let your maturity lead instead of your ego. Let wisdom drive your response. The more you expose yourself to discomfort, the less power it has over you. That's why you must voluntarily put yourself in situations that challenge your calm. Speak when it's uncomfortable. Wait patiently when your emotions scream to react. Hold your ground when someone tries to provoke you. These moments are your training ground. They are the gym for your emotional discipline. And with every repetition, you get stronger. You become someone who doesn't collapse under pressure, but sharpens because of it. There is nothing more powerful than a person who stays calm when the room is burning. Not cold, not detached, but calm, focused, steady, emotionally present, but not emotionally hijacked. That person leads. That person earns respect. That person becomes the example others follow. And you can be that person, not by suppressing what you feel, but by learning how to feel without letting those feelings drive the wheel. Emotions are like weather. They come and go. But you are the sky. Let the storm pass through. Don't become it. You'll know you're growing when the same situations that used to upset you no longer move you. You'll know you're developing strength when pressure becomes a trigger for your best self to show up, not your worst. And you'll know you've built real emotional control when others are panicking, and you're quietly observing, thinking clearly, and responding with calm precision. This doesn't mean you'll never feel shaken. You're human. But emotional strength is about how quickly you return to center, how quickly you take a breath, collect your thoughts, and get back to your grounded state. That's what separates those who succeed under pressure from those who break. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about presence, training, and self-mastery. Every moment of pressure is a chance to prove your growth. Make that choice again and again, and you will become the kind of person who remains powerful no matter how loud life gets. Chapter 10. Adjust your response based on the other person's energy. When you interact with others, it's not just about what you say, it's about how you respond to the energy they bring into the conversation. The energy in a room is contagious, and the way you adjust to that energy can make all the difference in the outcome of your interaction. It's like a dance. Sometimes you need to lead with calm and focus, and other times you need to follow the rhythm of the other person's emotional state to create harmony. Understanding how to adjust your response based on the other person's energy is an essential skill for building strong connections and navigating conversations smoothly. People communicate not only through words but through their tone, body language, and emotional state. These signals are the undercurrent of every interaction. A person's energy can speak louder than their words. If someone walks into a room feeling tense, frustrated, or upset, it doesn't matter how calm or collected you are. If you fail to read their emotional state, the conversation may not go well. Instead of connecting, you might find yourself clashing. By adjusting your response to match the energy of the person you're engaging with, you build trust, understanding, and rapport. The first step in mastering this skill is becoming aware of the emotional energy around you. People carry a certain vibe based on their mood, mental state, or life circumstances. They may come across as confident, anxious, excited, or withdrawn. Their energy can be subtle, but it's always there, influencing the interaction. For example, someone who is anxious might avoid eye contact, speak quickly, or fidget. Someone who is happy and open might speak slowly, smile more often, and have an open posture. Understanding these cues is key to adjusting your response. If someone enters the conversation with high energy, talking quickly, moving rapidly, or visibly excited, you have two choices. You could either mirror that energy and meet them at their level, or you could remain calm and grounded to provide a calming presence. Sometimes, matching their energy can help establish rapport. If someone is speaking quickly and with excitement, slowing down your speech might make you seem distant, but meeting them with a similar level of enthusiasm creates a sense of connection. However, if their energy is chaotic or overly charged, grounding the conversation by staying calm and focused can help bring them down to a more balanced state. The key is being mindful of their emotional state and making a conscious decision about how to respond. On the other hand, if you encounter someone who is quiet, withdrawn, or down, it's important not to overwhelm them with high energy or forced positivity. A person who is already feeling drained, sad, or frustrated may find a high-energy response off-putting or dismissive of their feelings. Instead, you can mirror their energy by adopting a more relaxed, empathetic tone. Responding with understanding and offering calmness can make the person feel heard and seen. You don't need to dive into a deep conversation right away. Sometimes, just offering a peaceful presence can help someone feel comfortable enough to open up. Adjusting your response based on the other person's energy also means being attuned to their level of receptiveness. Some people are ready to dive into deep conversations, while others might just need light conversation or a distraction. When you sense that someone is not ready for heavy discussion, perhaps they're distracted or emotionally unavailable, don't push them into it. Respect their boundaries. Instead, keep the conversation light and easygoing. If the person is more open or vulnerable, you can match that energy and lean into a deeper, more meaningful conversation. Knowing when to push and when to pull back requires self-awareness and sensitivity. One of the most powerful aspects of adjusting your response to another person's energy is using your own emotional intelligence to guide the conversation. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and manage your own emotions and the emotions of others. The more in tune you are with your own feelings and the feelings of the people around you, the better you can adjust your responses accordingly. If someone is upset, it's important to avoid reacting in a way that escalates the situation. You need to find ways to de-escalate their energy and provide a space for them to express themselves without judgment. Offering validation, acknowledging their feelings, and showing empathy helps create an environment where the other person feels comfortable and safe. This, in turn, will foster a deeper level of connection. At the same time, adjusting your response doesn't mean losing your authenticity. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not, or being overly accommodating to the point where you lose your sense of self. It's about understanding the emotional landscape of the conversation and meeting the other person where they are. This doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your own emotions or beliefs in the process. It means finding a balance, being true to yourself while respecting the emotional space of others. You can also use this skill to help guide others through difficult emotions. If someone is angry or upset, your calm, grounded presence can serve as a stabilizing force. If you can sense that they're about to explode, you can adjust by adopting a soft, gentle tone to de-escalate the situation. This doesn't mean backing down or being passive. It means using your emotional awareness to influence the energy in the room. Sometimes, a simple change in your tone or demeanor can shift the entire dynamic of the conversation. If you remain calm while the other person is upset, they may begin to mirror your composure and find it easier to regain control of their emotions. Another important aspect of adjusting your response based on the other person's energy is recognizing when they need space. If someone is overwhelmed, stressed, or irritated, giving them a moment to breathe and regain composure can be far more effective than trying to force a conversation. Sometimes, the most considerate thing you can do is allow the other person the time they need to process their emotions before engaging further. When you give someone space, you're showing that you respect their emotional boundaries, and that can go a long way in building trust and rapport. Over time, the ability to adjust your response based on the energy of others becomes an automatic skill that improves your relationships. People will notice that you're sensitive to their needs and emotions, and they'll feel more comfortable around you. They'll trust that you won't overwhelm them when they're vulnerable, and they'll appreciate your ability to meet them at their level when they need connection. Understanding and adjusting to the energy around you is a subtle but incredibly powerful tool in building strong, authentic relationships. It's about showing up as a presence that is attuned to others and willing to adapt to what's needed in the moment. When you take the time to recognize and respond to the energy in the room, you can navigate even the most complex interactions with ease. This skill allows you to be a source of comfort, stability and understanding for those around you, and it opens the door to deeper, more meaningful connections. Chapter 11. Respect personal boundaries to create emotional safety fast. Respecting personal boundaries is one of the most effective ways to create emotional safety quickly. Emotional safety is the bedrock of meaningful human connections. Without it, even the most well-intentioned conversations can feel invasive, uncomfortable, or untrustworthy. When you respect someone's personal boundaries, you communicate, without words, that their emotional well-being matters to you. This simple act of respect helps to build trust and understanding, which in turn fosters deeper, more authentic connections. Personal boundaries are the invisible lines that define what is comfortable and acceptable for an individual in terms of physical space, emotional engagement, and social interaction. These boundaries are deeply personal, unique to each person, and are shaped by a variety of factors, including cultural background, past experiences, personality traits, and individual needs. Some people are comfortable with close proximity, while others may feel uneasy or threatened by too much closeness. Similarly, some people may openly share their thoughts and emotions, while others may prefer to keep certain parts of themselves private. The first step in respecting personal boundaries is recognizing that everyone has them, even if those boundaries are not immediately visible or expressed. Many people are not fully conscious of their own boundaries, especially when they feel pressured or rushed. This is where emotional intelligence plays a key role in understanding and respecting others. By paying attention to nonverbal cues, such as body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice, you can often sense when someone is feeling uncomfortable or when their personal space is being encroached upon. People may not always vocalize their discomfort, but their bodies will often give them away. A step back, a change in posture, or a shift in tone can signal that someone is beginning to feel emotionally unsafe. Respecting boundaries doesn't only refer to physical space. It also extends to emotional and psychological boundaries. Emotional boundaries are about recognizing and understanding the limits of how much personal information someone is willing to share, how much emotional energy they are willing to invest in a conversation, and how much vulnerability they are comfortable expressing. Some individuals are naturally more open and willing to engage deeply in conversations, while others are more reserved. When you respect someone's emotional boundaries, you honor their pace and their comfort level, allowing them to share as much or as little as they are ready to. One of the most important ways to show respect for personal boundaries is by asking for consent before probing into sensitive areas. It might seem like a small gesture, but asking, "Is it okay if I ask you about," or "Would you feel comfortable talking about," can make a world of difference. This simple question acknowledges that the other person has the right to control what they share and creates an environment where they feel safe to open up, should they choose to do so. By giving the other person the power to decide how much they want to share, you remove the pressure to reveal anything they are not ready to share. Being mindful of personal boundaries is also essential when it comes to physical touch. While some people enjoy hugs or handshakes as forms of greeting, others may find such gestures invasive or uncomfortable. Recognizing that not everyone feels the same way about physical contact is a sign of respect. It's important to pay attention to the other person's comfort level and respond accordingly. If someone recoils or steps back when you initiate touch, it's a clear signal that they are not comfortable. Similarly, if someone gives you a hesitant response when you ask for their consent to touch, it's best to respect their boundaries and refrain from doing so. Another key component of respecting personal boundaries is being mindful of time. Time is a valuable resource, and respecting someone's time is a form of respect for their personal boundaries. When you ask someone for their time, whether for a meeting, a conversation, or an activity, it's important to be considerate of their schedule and commitments. Similarly, when you are engaged in a conversation, be aware of how much time you are taking up. If you sense that the other person is in a rush or preoccupied, it's important to be respectful of their time by keeping the conversation brief or by offering to continue it at a more convenient time. In some situations, people may have certain topics that are off-limits, either because they are deeply personal or because they bring up painful memories. Respecting these boundaries means being aware of when a conversation may be causing discomfort or emotional distress. If someone avoids talking about a specific subject, it's important to follow their lead and steer the conversation in a different direction. Pushing someone to discuss something they are not ready to open up about is a breach of their emotional boundaries and can cause harm to the relationship. By allowing the other person to decide what they wish to discuss, you show that you value their emotional well-being and are willing to prioritize their comfort. While respecting boundaries is crucial in building emotional safety, it's also important to communicate your own boundaries clearly and assertively. Often people are afraid to express their own boundaries because they fear conflict or rejection. However, setting clear boundaries is a healthy and necessary part of maintaining strong relationships. When you communicate your own limits in a respectful and direct way, you create an environment of mutual understanding. You also model healthy behavior for others, showing them that it is okay to set their own boundaries and expect them to be respected. Respecting personal boundaries goes beyond avoiding overstepping limits. It also means being attuned to the unspoken emotional needs of the other person. This can involve recognizing when someone is overwhelmed and offering them space, or when they need reassurance and offering comfort. It also means giving people room to express themselves without judgment. People need to feel that their thoughts, feelings, and experiences are valid, even if they don't align with your own. By listening without judgment and offering support, you create a space where others feel safe to be vulnerable and authentic. Building emotional safety through boundary respect is not an overnight process. It takes time, practice, and patience, but the rewards are immeasurable. When people feel safe, respected, and understood, they are more likely to open up and share their true selves. They are more likely to engage in honest and meaningful conversations that lead to deeper connections. When you consistently show respect for personal boundaries, you cultivate an environment of trust and mutual respect that strengthens your relationships and enriches your interactions. Ultimately, Respecting personal boundaries is about more than just avoiding discomfort. It's about fostering a sense of belonging, safety, and trust. It's about showing the other person that their emotional space is sacred and that you are there to support them without pressure or expectation. By doing so, you create an emotional environment where people feel valued and understood, and where genuine connections can flourish. Chapter 12. Use silence wisely to make conversations more powerful. Silence is often seen as something to be avoided in conversations, a space of awkwardness where the flow of words feels like it's sputtering to a halt. But in reality, silence can be one of the most powerful tools at your disposal. When used deliberately, silence can elevate the quality of your communication, deepen understanding, and forge stronger connections with others. Instead of seeing silence as an uncomfortable void, see it as an opportunity for reflection, contemplation, and a chance to let the other person process or respond in a more meaningful way. The natural instinct in a conversation is to fill every pause with words. We fear silence because it feels like a gap that needs to be filled, a vacuum that creates tension. However, silence is not the absence of communication. It is a powerful force that can create room for better communication. By pausing, you allow space for deeper thought, more profound reflection, and a stronger emotional connection. When you strategically use silence, you give both yourself and the other person the chance to gather your thoughts and emotions, making your words more impactful when they do come. In any conversation, there is often a rush to keep speaking, to move on to the next point, or to make the next statement. Yet, sometimes, silence can be the most profound way to communicate understanding, empathy, or respect. The simple act of remaining quiet, allowing the other person to take the floor, can show your openness to hearing them. It lets the other person know that you're truly listening, that you're giving them space to express themselves without interruption. In a world where people are often too eager to speak, providing that silence for someone to share more freely can feel incredibly empowering. Silence can also create a sense of anticipation, subtly guiding the flow of the conversation. A well-timed pause can prompt the other person to continue, fill the gap, or delve deeper into what they were saying. When you speak and then wait, your silence becomes an invitation for the other person to open up more. Often, people are waiting for you to say something, but when you withhold your response, they may feel compelled to share more. This is especially true in sensitive conversations where someone may be hesitant or unsure of how much to reveal. When you remain quiet, it communicates that you are not rushing them and that you are there to fully engage with what they have to offer. At times, silence can also serve as a way of giving weight to a moment. After making a significant point, take a pause to allow the message to settle. Let the words linger in the air. This will give the other person time to absorb what you said, giving them the opportunity to truly consider your words before responding. Silence, in this context, becomes a tool for emphasis. Instead of immediately moving on to the next point, the pause allows your message to resonate, creating a lasting impression. People are more likely to remember what was said after a moment of silence, as it allows them to process the information more deeply. In conflict situations or emotionally charged discussions, silence can be a tool for de-escalation. When emotions are running high, speaking too quickly can add fuel to the fire, escalating the situation further. A pause gives everyone involved time to breathe, reflect, and regain composure. It can break the cycle of reactive responses and give space for more thoughtful, measured reactions. Silence in these moments can be a way of signaling calmness, showing that you are not reacting out of frustration or anger, but are choosing to stay composed and in control of your emotions. This can have a calming effect on the other person, allowing the conversation to shift from confrontation to constructive dialogue. Another powerful way silence works is in nonverbal communication. Sometimes, your words can only say so much. Silence, however, can speak volumes without saying a single word. The way you choose to stay quiet can communicate your thoughts, feelings, and intentions more powerfully than words ever could. For example, if someone says something hurtful, instead of immediately reacting with words, choosing silence can convey your discomfort, disapproval, or confusion without needing to say a thing. Your silence forces the other person to consider the impact of their words, offering them an opportunity to reflect on what they just said. This nonverbal response can be far more impactful than reacting defensively or aggressively. Silence is also deeply connected to the ability to listen. Active listening is a skill that requires focus and patience. When you listen actively, you are not just hearing the words the other person is saying, you are fully engaged in understanding the meaning behind those words. This requires a level of silence in your mind and in your response. Instead of planning what you will say next, you must be present and allow the other person the space to express themselves fully. Often, we listen with the intent of responding, but listening in silence allows you to truly understand the other person's point of view before forming your response. This approach leads to more meaningful conversations where both parties feel heard and understood. There are moments when silence can also be a tool for reflection. When someone presents a difficult question or a challenging point, instead of rushing to respond, take a moment of silence to consider your answer. This not only shows that you are taking the conversation seriously, but it also allows you to craft a more thoughtful, reflective response. Instead of reacting impulsively, silence allows you the opportunity to pause, gather your thoughts, and choose your words carefully. This makes your words more deliberate and intentional, which can have a greater impact on the listener. Furthermore, silence can be an essential tool in managing your emotions during a conversation. In times of heightened emotion, it can be difficult to control your reactions. By embracing silence, you create a buffer between your emotional response and your verbal reaction. This gives you time to cool off, collect yourself, and respond in a way that reflects your true feelings, rather than reacting out of frustration, anger, or fear. In this way, silence becomes a self-regulation technique, helping you manage your emotional state and maintain control over your actions. In addition, silence can also help in negotiations or discussions that involve decision-making. Sometimes, people are uncomfortable with silence and may feel the need to fill it with words. This discomfort can be an advantage if you are the one using silence strategically. In high-stakes discussions, a well-timed pause after a proposal can encourage the other party to speak up, possibly revealing their thoughts, hesitations, or intentions. By remaining silent, you create a pressure for them to react or respond, and in doing so you may gain valuable insights into their position that would not have been revealed otherwise. Using silence wisely also means understanding the power of timing. There are moments in conversation where silence should be long, allowing space for contemplation, and moments where it should be brief, just long enough to allow the listener to absorb what was said. Timing is everything when it comes to silence, and it's important to gauge the other person's energy and needs in the conversation. If they seem to be processing what you've said, a longer silence may be necessary. If they seem eager to respond, a shorter silence may be more appropriate. In conclusion, silence is not merely the absence of words, it is a powerful tool in communication that can strengthen relationships, enhance understanding, and create more profound, impactful conversations. By using silence thoughtfully, you can invite deeper reflection, foster empathy, and build trust in your interactions. Whether it's through allowing someone space to think, pausing to reflect on your own emotions, or offering a nonverbal response, silence has the potential to enhance your communication and make your words more meaningful. Chapter 13. Recognize manipulation and protect your mental clarity. Manipulation can be a subtle yet potent force in our lives. It often comes dressed as care, concern, or even friendship, making it difficult to identify. However, the impact of manipulation on your mental clarity and emotional well-being can be devastating if not recognized early. The key to preserving your peace of mind and maintaining clarity in any situation is learning to recognize when someone is attempting to manipulate you. When you gain awareness of these tactics, you arm yourself with the ability to protect your mental space and retain control over your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. Recognizing manipulation begins with paying attention to patterns. Manipulative behavior often follows a predictable course. One of the earliest signs that manipulation is at play is when you notice someone attempting to guilt-trip you into a decision or action. This may come in the form of comments like, "If you really cared about me, you would," or "I'm the only one who understands you." Such phrases are designed to make you feel guilty for not complying with their wishes, pressuring you to act against your best interests. The manipulator doesn't want to consider your feelings or needs. Instead, they seek to control your actions through emotional pressure. Another form of manipulation that can cloud your judgment is gaslighting, a tactic that distorts reality to make you question your perceptions, memories, or even sanity. If someone continuously makes you doubt yourself by telling you that what you know to be true never happened or was your fault, this is an attempt to undermine your confidence and destabilize your sense of self. Gaslighting can leave you second-guessing your decisions, making it difficult to trust your own instincts. The manipulator relies on your confusion to further their agenda, and the more you are unsure of yourself, the easier it becomes for them to exert control over you. Recognizing this tactic requires cultivating self-awareness and a strong sense of your own values, so you can begin to trust your perceptions again. Manipulators may also try to make you feel responsible for their feelings or actions. They may suggest that their happiness or well-being is entirely dependent on you, leading you to believe that you are in some way accountable for their emotional state. This can create an unhealthy sense of obligation, and you might find yourself constantly bending to their needs in an attempt to avoid their emotional outbursts or dissatisfaction. These tactics are often cloaked in the language of love or friendship, making it even more difficult to distinguish between genuine concern and emotional manipulation. Recognizing when someone is trying to place undue responsibility on your shoulders for their emotional well-being is key to preserving your mental clarity. A manipulative individual may also use flattery to get what they want. While compliments can feel good, manipulators will use them to lower your defenses and create a sense of indebtedness. They may lavish you with praise, making you feel as though you owe them something in return. It can feel like they are truly appreciating you, but beneath the surface, they are simply attempting to gain leverage over you. Flattery can cloud your judgment, making it harder to see the manipulation for what it is. The goal is not to make you feel good about yourself, but to subtly influence your decisions. Recognizing this tactic involves being aware of the motives behind the compliments and learning to distinguish genuine praise from manipulation. Another red flag is when someone consistently refuses to take responsibility for their actions. Manipulators rarely admit fault or accept responsibility for the consequences of their behavior. Instead, They may deflect blame onto others, making you feel as though you are the one in the wrong. This can cause you to feel guilty for situations you didn't cause, leading you to take on more than your fair share of the emotional or practical burden. The key to recognizing this form of manipulation is to learn to identify when someone is shifting blame away from themselves and onto you, even when the situation doesn't support that claim. By remaining objective and not internalizing misplaced guilt, you can protect your mental clarity. In some cases, manipulators will create situations where you feel like you have no choice but to comply with their demands. They may present false ultimatums, leaving you feeling cornered and pressured to make a decision quickly. This tactic relies on urgency and fear of missing out, creating a false sense of scarcity. The manipulator's goal is to push you into making a decision without giving you the time or space to think through your options. Recognizing this tactic requires slowing down and refusing to be rushed into a decision. When you encounter an ultimatum, take a moment to assess the situation and ask yourself if the urgency is real or manufactured. Another way to recognize manipulation is by observing how the other person reacts to boundaries. Manipulators often disregard or challenge boundaries because they view them as obstacles to achieving their goal. Whether it's personal boundaries, emotional boundaries, or physical boundaries, they will test your limits to see how much they can push you. They may try to make you feel unreasonable for asserting your boundaries, or act as though your boundaries are an inconvenience to them. This behavior is a clear sign that they are more focused on controlling you than respecting you as an individual. Setting firm boundaries and standing by them is essential for protecting your mental clarity and emotional well-being. One of the most subtle forms of manipulation is passive-aggressive behavior. This can be harder to detect because it's often disguised as indirect communication or subtle jabs. Rather than expressing frustration openly, the manipulator may use sarcasm, silence, or backhanded compliments to make you feel bad or provoke a reaction. While it may seem like harmless behavior on the surface, passive-aggressive actions can create confusion and frustration, ultimately eroding your peace of mind. Recognizing passive-aggressive behavior requires you to be aware of how a person's actions make you feel and to trust your instincts when something feels off. If you sense manipulation, it's important to address the behavior directly and assertively. Understanding that manipulation can be a part of many different types of relationships is crucial. It is not limited to romantic relationships, but can occur in friendships, family dynamics, and even professional settings. Recognizing manipulation in its various forms is a skill that requires ongoing awareness and self-reflection. The key to protecting your mental clarity is learning how to assert yourself in the face of manipulation without guilt or fear. This involves setting clear boundaries, trusting your instincts, and taking responsibility for your own well-being. Protecting your mental clarity from manipulation means refusing to allow others to define your thoughts, emotions, or actions. It involves recognizing that you are in control of your responses and that no one has the right to dictate your reality. When you encounter manipulation, step back and give yourself the space to assess the situation objectively. You don't have to respond immediately. Take your time to evaluate whether the situation is serving your best interests or whether you're being coerced into something you don't want to do. Trust yourself and your judgment. Over time, you will strengthen your ability to protect your mental clarity, allowing you to stay grounded and focused, regardless of the manipulative tactics that others may attempt to use. By recognizing manipulation and taking steps to protect your mental space, you create a foundation of strength and resilience that no one can easily shake. You gain the ability to stay clear-headed, to make decisions based on your values, and to assert your needs without fear or guilt. This mental clarity not only helps you avoid manipulation, but also empowers you to build healthier, more balanced relationships. Chapter 14. Apologize with honesty to strengthen human relationships deeply. Apologizing with honesty is a powerful tool in building trust, mending relationships, and fostering genuine human connection. In a world where pride often stands in the way of admitting mistakes, the ability to apologize sincerely can strengthen relationships in ways that few other actions can. At its core, an honest apology is not merely a collection of words meant to placate someone. It is a deep acknowledgement of a misstep, a recognition of its impact on others, and a genuine desire to make amends. When you apologize with sincerity, you show vulnerability, humility, and a commitment to growth, which are all essential for forming meaningful connections with others. However, apologizing honestly doesn't mean simply saying sorry for the sake of convenience. A real apology comes from a place of introspection and self-awareness. It's about understanding how your actions have affected someone else and taking responsibility for those actions without deflecting blame or making excuses. This type of apology requires courage because it forces you to confront the reality of your behavior and its impact on the other person. It is not easy to admit when you've hurt someone, but doing so with honesty can be the key to healing wounds and rebuilding trust. Many people struggle with apologizing because of their fear of being judged or rejected. There is often an underlying belief that admitting fault will make them seem weak or unworthy. This fear can prevent people from offering genuine apologies, leading to unresolved tension and resentment in relationships. But the truth is that honesty in an apology does not make you weak. It shows strength. It shows that you are mature enough to recognize when you've made a mistake and brave enough to face the consequences of your actions. It demonstrates that you value the other person's feelings and that you are willing to take the necessary steps to make things right. One of the most important elements of an honest apology is taking full responsibility for your actions. Many times, people apologize, but then qualify their apology with excuses or justifications. They might say things like, "I'm sorry, but you made me do it," or "I didn't mean to hurt you, but you were being too sensitive." These types of apologies dilute the sincerity of the gesture and make it seem less genuine. A true apology does not seek to shift blame or minimize the hurt caused. It acknowledges the wrongdoing without excuses. When you apologize, own your actions fully, acknowledge what you did wrong and how it may have affected the other person. A key aspect of an honest apology is being specific about the behavior you are apologizing for. Instead of offering a general, "I'm sorry for everything," try to pinpoint the exact action or words that led to the hurt. A specific apology shows that you have taken the time to reflect on the situation and that you understand exactly where you went wrong. This level of thoughtfulness goes a long way in showing the other person that you are taking responsibility for the impact of your actions and not just offering a blanket statement to ease your conscience. Honest apologies also require a level of emotional intelligence. It's not enough to say the right words, you must also express genuine remorse. This means being attuned to the emotions of the person you are apologizing to. It's important to consider how your actions made the other person feel and to express empathy for their experience. Acknowledging the pain or frustration that your behavior caused can help the other person feel seen and heard, which is an essential part of the healing process. People want to know that you understand their perspective and that you recognize the emotional weight of your actions. While a sincere apology is crucial, it is equally important to follow through with actions that demonstrate a commitment to change. Simply saying sorry without taking steps to prevent the same mistake from happening again is insufficient. Apologizing without changing behavior can quickly erode trust and cause further damage to the relationship. If you truly regret your actions, make a conscious effort to do better in the future. This could mean communicating more openly, being more mindful of your words, or making a greater effort to meet the other person's needs. The act of apologizing should be paired with tangible efforts to improve and demonstrate that you are actively working to become a better version of yourself. An apology should also be given at the right time. Timing plays a significant role in how an apology is received. Apologizing too quickly, before the other person has had a chance to process their feelings, can come across as insincere or dismissive. On the other hand, waiting too long to apologize can cause the hurt to fester and deepen, making it harder to repair the relationship. The key is to gauge the other person's emotional state and offer your apology when they are ready to hear it. This shows respect for their feelings and creates a space for a more productive and healing conversation. Sometimes, an apology is not just about repairing a single instance of harm, but about rebuilding trust over time. If the relationship has been damaged by repeated misunderstandings or mistakes, a one-time apology may not be enough to restore the bond. In these cases, you must show your sincerity through consistent actions and ongoing efforts to earn back trust. Apologizing with honesty involves a long-term commitment to personal growth and the health of the relationship. Over time, the other person will begin to see the genuine change in you, and this will help to rebuild the emotional foundation that was weakened by past actions. An honest apology is also about creating space for the other person to express their feelings. Often, when we apologize, we focus on our own feelings of guilt or regret and fail to give the other person the opportunity to voice their pain or disappointment. A sincere apology involves allowing the other person to speak openly about how your actions affected them without interrupting or defending yourself. This act of listening can be just as powerful as the apology itself. It shows that you value the other person's emotions and are willing to understand their experience without rushing to justify your behavior. While apologizing with honesty can strengthen relationships, it's important to recognize that not all apologies will result in immediate forgiveness. The other person may need time to process their emotions, and they may not be ready to forgive right away. This is a natural part of the healing process. Be patient and give the other person the space they need to come to terms with the situation. An honest apology does not guarantee an instant fix, but it opens the door for reconciliation and lays the foundation for deeper understanding and growth. In conclusion, apologizing with honesty is a powerful act that can deeply strengthen human relationships. It shows that you are willing to take responsibility for your actions, acknowledge the impact of your behavior, and make amends in a meaningful way. A true apology involves vulnerability, empathy, and a commitment to change. By apologizing with sincerity, you create the opportunity for healing, trust, and a deeper emotional connection. Relationships are built on mutual respect, and the ability to apologize with honesty is a crucial step in nurturing that respect. Through the practice of honest apology, you can foster more authentic, compassionate, and resilient relationships that stand the test of time. Chapter 15. Give sincere compliments to uplift people instantly. Compliments are one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal to connect with others and elevate their sense of self-worth. A well-timed, sincere compliment can instantly change someone's day, boost their confidence, and even spark lasting positive change in their lives. Offering genuine compliments is not just about saying something nice. It's about recognizing the value in others and expressing appreciation in a way that feels authentic. When done correctly, Compliments create an environment where people feel seen, respected, and motivated to continue being the best version of themselves. At their core, compliments have the ability to highlight someone's unique strengths and qualities, acknowledging them in a way that makes them feel valued. Often we underestimate the power of a simple, kind word. We may think that people already know their worth, or that compliments are too small to make a difference, but in reality, those small acts of recognition can have an enormous impact. The truth is, most people go through their lives with doubts about themselves, questioning whether they are good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. When we offer a sincere compliment, we validate their worth and remind them of their capabilities. However, it is important to note that the most effective compliments are those that are rooted in authenticity. Flattery, while often well-intentioned, can be perceived as insincere or manipulative. When compliments are overly generalized or exaggerated, they lose their power. For example, telling someone, "You're the best person in the world," while positive, lacks specificity and doesn't feel as meaningful as a compliment that focuses on a particular quality or action. Instead of offering broad, empty praise, focus on specific attributes or actions that demonstrate genuine appreciation. Complimenting someone for their hard work, creativity, kindness, or resilience will have a deeper impact because it reflects your true acknowledgement of their efforts. A sincere compliment is a reflection of your genuine admiration for the other person, but it also serves as a mirror for their own self-reflection. When we give compliments that highlight someone's strengths or qualities, we are helping them see themselves in a more positive light. This act of recognition fosters self-confidence and can inspire others to continue striving toward greatness. Often, people are unaware of the positive impact they have on others, and a compliment acts as a reminder of the good they bring to the world. One of the most important aspects of giving compliments is timing. A well-timed compliment can have a profound effect, especially when someone is going through a difficult time or is feeling discouraged. Imagine a colleague who has been working tirelessly on a project, or a friend who has been facing challenges in their personal life. A compliment at just the right moment can lift their spirits and offer the encouragement they need to keep going. A timely compliment shows that you are paying attention, that you recognize the effort they've put in, and that you value them as individuals. It can be the catalyst for them to push forward and keep pursuing their goals with renewed energy. Furthermore, compliments can be a powerful tool for building strong, positive relationships. When we take the time to recognize the strengths and contributions of those around us, we create an environment of mutual respect and appreciation. Offering compliments is a way to build rapport and foster a sense of camaraderie. It can help break down barriers, strengthen team dynamics, and create a more positive and collaborative atmosphere. By complimenting others, you acknowledge their value and create a space where they feel comfortable sharing their ideas, contributing to discussions, and taking risks without fear of judgment. Another essential aspect of giving compliments is the ability to recognize qualities that go beyond surface-level attributes. While it's easy to compliment someone on their appearance or possessions, the most impactful compliments are those that highlight the deeper qualities that make a person truly exceptional. Complimenting someone on their kindness, work ethic, creativity, or integrity speaks to the character of the individual and the positive energy they bring to the world. These types of compliments are much more meaningful because they reflect the inner qualities that define a person's true worth. Offering compliments also requires us to be present and engaged with others. We cannot give meaningful compliments if we are distracted or disinterested in the conversation. By actively listening and being genuinely curious about the people around us, we can find opportunities to offer thoughtful, personalized compliments. This means taking the time to notice the little things, whether it's a colleague's dedication to a project, a friend's sense of humor, or a family member's resilience. It's about being attuned to the unique qualities that make people special and finding ways to acknowledge those attributes in a way that feels heartfelt. The impact of compliments extends beyond the individual who receives them. When we give compliments, we contribute to a culture of positivity and kindness. Compliments have the potential to create a ripple effect, where the person receiving the compliment feels uplifted and inspired to pay it forward. In this way, compliments can foster a cycle of positivity that spreads through our communities, workplaces, and social circles. By taking the time to offer sincere compliments, we not only brighten someone else's day, but also contribute to a culture of encouragement and support. Additionally, giving compliments can enhance your own sense of fulfillment and happiness. It feels good to make someone else's day better, and the act of expressing appreciation reinforces our own gratitude and sense of connection to others. Offering compliments is a simple way to practice kindness and mindfulness, which can have a profound impact on our overall well-being. The more we focus on the positive qualities in others, the more we cultivate an attitude of gratitude and abundance in our own lives. It's also important to note that compliments can serve as a form of motivation. When someone receives recognition for their hard work, it can inspire them to continue putting in effort and striving for excellence. Compliments can act as positive reinforcement, encouraging individuals to maintain their commitment to their goals and continue making meaningful contributions. In the workplace, for instance, employees who feel appreciated and recognized for their efforts are more likely to stay engaged, motivated, and productive. By offering sincere compliments, you foster an environment where people are inspired to do their best and reach their full potential. To truly make a lasting impact with your compliments, it's essential to ensure that your words align with your actions. Compliments that are followed by genuine acts of support and encouragement carry more weight than those that are merely spoken. When you compliment someone, take the extra step to show your appreciation through your actions. Whether it's offering help, showing interest in their work, or simply being there for them, your actions will reinforce the sincerity of your words. Ultimately, giving sincere compliments is one of the simplest and most effective ways to uplift others and create positive connections. By recognizing and appreciating the unique qualities in those around you, you contribute to a culture of kindness, respect, and encouragement. Compliments can inspire confidence, build relationships, and motivate others to continue pursuing greatness. They offer a reminder that we all have something valuable to offer, and that recognition and appreciation are powerful forces for good in the world. So take a moment each day to look for opportunities to offer a genuine compliment. In doing so, you'll not only brighten someone else's day, but also enrich your own life in ways you never imagined. Chapter 16. Accept feedback without reacting to defend your ego. Accepting feedback is an essential skill for personal growth, and learning to receive it without reacting defensively is crucial for our development. Often, our first instinct when we hear criticism is to protect ourselves, to respond with a counterargument or explanation, or to deflect the blame. This reaction is rooted in the ego, the part of us that seeks validation, fears failure, and craves approval. However, if we allow our ego to dictate how we respond to feedback, we miss out on valuable opportunities for learning and improvement. The ability to accept feedback gracefully is not about being passive or letting others walk all over you. It's about creating space to listen without immediately reacting, taking a moment to process the information, and considering how it can help us grow. The key is to separate ourselves from the feedback and understand that criticism of our actions or behavior is not an attack on our worth as individuals. When we detach our sense of self from the criticism, we can objectively evaluate the feedback and use it to become better versions of ourselves. There's a misconception that accepting feedback means we have to agree with it or internalize it. This is not the case. You don't have to accept all feedback as truth, but it is essential to listen to it without judgment, to absorb what you can, and then decide what action to take. The point of feedback is not to confirm our existing beliefs or reinforce our ego. It's to challenge us, broaden our perspective, and help us see areas for improvement. If we react defensively, we close ourselves off to that growth process. When we hear criticism, our emotions often get triggered. We may feel vulnerable or attacked, and our first instinct might be to argue back or explain ourselves. But reacting impulsively is usually a product of our ego's desire to preserve our image and sense of control. The ego doesn't want to feel weak, inadequate, or wrong. It wants to protect its sense of self-worth at all costs. However, giving in to this instinctive reaction often leads to more harm than good. It can escalate conflicts, damage relationships, and prevent us from truly learning from the experience. One of the most effective ways to accept feedback without reacting is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us become aware of our thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations in the moment. It allows us to notice when our ego is being triggered, and instead of acting on it, we can pause, take a breath, and regain control over our response. When we approach feedback with mindfulness, we create space between the stimulus, the criticism, and our response. This space gives us the opportunity to choose a more measured, thoughtful response, rather than reacting impulsively. Another powerful tool in accepting feedback is to view it as an opportunity for growth. When we shift our mindset from seeing feedback as a personal attack to viewing it as a chance to learn and improve, we approach it with curiosity rather than defensiveness. This mindset shift can transform the way we perceive criticism and allow us to embrace it with an open mind. Rather than feeling threatened by feedback, we can approach it as a gift, something that can help us develop our skills, enhance our performance, and grow as individuals. It's also important to recognize that feedback, whether positive or negative, is a reflection of someone else's perspective. Their feedback is based on their experiences, observations, and values, and it doesn't define who we are as a person. When we accept feedback without reacting defensively, we are acknowledging that the other person's viewpoint is valid, even if we don't agree with it. This doesn't mean we have to change everything about ourselves or blindly accept every piece of feedback we receive. It simply means that we are open to considering it and using it to refine our actions, behavior, or mindset. A key part of accepting feedback is the willingness to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, but in reality, it is a strength. It takes courage to admit that we are not perfect, that we don't have all the answers, and that there is always room for improvement. By being vulnerable in the face of feedback, we demonstrate emotional maturity and self-awareness. We show that we are not afraid to face our flaws and are committed to continuous growth. This openness to feedback can deepen our relationships with others and foster a culture of trust and respect. It's also essential to understand that feedback is not always easy to hear, and it may not always be delivered in the most constructive manner. Sometimes people may offer criticism that feels harsh, unfair, or even personal. In these moments, it can be challenging not to react emotionally. However, it's important to separate the delivery of the feedback from the content itself. Just because the feedback is poorly communicated doesn't mean it lacks value. We can still find valuable insights within the criticism, even if it wasn't delivered in the most tactful way. In such situations, we can choose to focus on the message rather than the messenger and extract the lessons that can help us improve. One of the most powerful ways to accept feedback is to seek it proactively. When we actively ask for feedback, we demonstrate a willingness to grow and improve. We send a message that we value others' perspectives and are open to constructive criticism. Seeking feedback shows that we are committed to personal development and are not afraid to hear areas where we can improve. This proactive approach also shifts the power dynamic in feedback conversations. Instead of waiting for feedback to be given to us, we take the initiative to seek it out, which allows us to take control of our own growth process. The process of accepting feedback without reacting defensively also requires us to practice self-compassion. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism when we receive feedback, especially if it's critical. However, beating ourselves up over our mistakes only hinders our growth. Self-compassion allows us to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, just as we would treat a friend who is going through a similar experience. It's important to recognize that receiving feedback is a part of the learning process and that making mistakes is normal. By accepting feedback with self-compassion, we can avoid becoming paralyzed by shame or self-doubt and instead use the feedback as a catalyst for positive change. Lastly, when we accept feedback without reacting defensively, we open ourselves up to deeper levels of self-awareness. Feedback offers us a mirror, reflecting aspects of ourselves that we might not have been aware of. It shows us our blind spots, our strengths, and areas where we can grow. By accepting feedback with an open mind, we can gain greater clarity about who we are and who we want to become. This awareness is the foundation of personal growth, and it empowers us to make conscious choices that align with our values and goals. The ability to accept feedback without reacting to defend our ego is a powerful skill that can transform our personal and professional lives. It allows us to learn, grow, and develop into the best version of ourselves. When we practice this skill, we foster stronger relationships, cultivate emotional intelligence, and create an environment where growth and improvement are celebrated. Feedback, when approached with humility and a growth mindset, becomes a tool for continuous development and self-mastery. Chapter 17. Set clear intentions before entering any social situation. Before entering any social situation, it's crucial to take a moment to set clear intentions. Often we go into social settings without much thought or planning, reacting to the environment as it unfolds. However, by intentionally deciding beforehand what we want to achieve and how we want to engage, we can navigate social interactions more effectively, ensuring they align with our goals and values. This simple act of setting intentions not only helps us remain focused, but also empowers us to stay true to ourselves in the face of various social dynamics. Setting clear intentions before entering a social situation is an act of self-awareness. It's about taking a step back and reflecting on what we want to experience, contribute, and learn. It's easy to get caught up in the external pressures of how others may perceive us or how we should behave. But when we enter a social setting without clear intentions, we can easily lose sight of who we are and what we truly value. Setting intentions helps us anchor ourselves, making sure we don't get lost in the noise and distractions around us. One of the most powerful aspects of setting clear intentions is the ability to define what we want to bring into a conversation or a social environment. If we enter a room with the intention of being present, listening actively, and engaging meaningfully, our interactions will reflect that. The energy we bring to a situation is contagious, and by setting the intention to be calm, positive, and open-minded, we influence the dynamic around us. When we are intentional about how we show up, we send a message to others that we value the time and energy we spend with them. Another important element of setting intentions is determining how we want to feel in social situations. Often we let external circumstances dictate our emotional state. We may feel nervous, anxious, or disconnected if we're unsure of how the conversation will go or what others will think of us. But when we set an intention to remain grounded, confident, or calm, we take control of our emotional responses. Instead of reacting to the environment, we proactively choose how we want to feel. By defining these emotional goals ahead of time, we can better navigate challenges and remain true to ourselves, no matter the situation. Setting intentions also allows us to clarify what we hope to achieve from a social interaction. Are we there to build relationships, share our ideas, learn from others? By asking ourselves these questions before entering a situation, we can approach it with a sense of purpose. This clarity ensures that our actions align with our goals and values. It also helps us stay on track during the conversation. When we have a clear sense of what we want, we're less likely to get swept up in idle chatter or distractions that don't serve us. Furthermore, setting intentions helps us manage our time and energy effectively. Social situations can often be draining, especially if we're an introvert or if the setting is particularly high stakes or stressful. By setting clear intentions, we're giving ourselves permission to prioritize our well-being. For example, if we enter a party with the intention of connecting with a few meaningful people, rather than trying to speak with everyone, we save ourselves from feeling overwhelmed. We are able to conserve our energy and focus on quality over quantity in our interactions. This approach leads to deeper, more meaningful connections rather than superficial exchanges. When we enter a social situation without clear intentions, we often let the environment dictate how we show up. We may feel unsure about how to contribute or how to react to others. This uncertainty can make us feel anxious or uncomfortable, which in turn affects the quality of our interactions. But when we set clear intentions, we remove that uncertainty. We know what we're there to do and how we want to engage. This confidence allows us to be more authentic and effective in our communications, leading to stronger, more meaningful connections with others. There are also times when we need to set boundaries in social situations. Setting clear intentions isn't just about what we want to contribute, it's also about protecting our mental and emotional space. By clearly defining what we're willing to tolerate and how we want to be treated, we can navigate social situations with greater ease and confidence. This is especially important in challenging environments or when dealing with difficult people. Setting boundaries through intentionality allows us to take control of the situation and ensure that we're not compromising our values or well-being. In addition, setting intentions helps us avoid being overly reactive. It's easy to get swept up in the emotions or dynamics of a social situation, particularly if someone says something that bothers us or if there's a conflict. But when we've set clear intentions, we've already decided how we want to respond to these situations. We can choose to remain calm, listen thoughtfully, and avoid being defensive or reactive. By being intentional about our responses, we create space for more thoughtful, respectful conversations that promote understanding rather than escalation. Setting clear intentions is also a way of practicing self-respect. It's a form of honoring our own needs and desires, rather than automatically accommodating others or following the flow of the situation. When we consciously choose how we want to show up, we demonstrate that we value ourselves and our time. We recognize that our presence in any social situation is meaningful and that we deserve to engage in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling. This sense of self-respect strengthens our confidence and allows us to engage in social situations with greater ease and authenticity. Setting clear intentions before entering social situations is a simple but transformative practice. It allows us to show up more intentionally, confidently, and authentically. It empowers us to make decisions about how we want to engage with others and what we want to achieve from our interactions. By being clear about our intentions, we also ensure that we protect our mental and emotional well-being. Whether we're seeking to build connections, learn, or simply enjoy the moment, setting intentions helps us stay focused and aligned with our goals. This practice of intentionality not only improves our social experiences, but also enhances our overall sense of purpose and fulfillment in life. Chapter 18. Practice daily awareness to stay mentally present always. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to become distracted, overwhelmed by external pressures, and disconnected from the present moment. The art of practicing daily awareness is one of the most powerful tools we can develop to stay mentally present and engaged in our lives. When we practice awareness, we train ourselves to be fully involved in whatever we're doing, without letting our minds wander off into the past or future. This daily practice allows us to experience life with greater depth, clarity, and purpose. Awareness is the foundation of mindfulness, which is simply the ability to be present in the moment, observing our thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without judgment. In a world where our attention is constantly pulled in a million directions, social media, work, personal concerns, it's easy to lose sight of the present moment. We often get trapped in our thoughts, replaying past experiences or worrying about what's coming next. But daily awareness brings us back to the here and now, where we can fully experience each moment as it unfolds. The practice of daily awareness isn't about achieving perfection in staying focused. It's about cultivating a mindset of attentiveness, where we acknowledge when our minds wander and gently bring them back to the present. The more we practice, the more natural it becomes to stay grounded in the present moment. Over time, this mental discipline transforms the way we engage with life. We become less reactive and more responsive, able to handle challenges with clarity and calmness, rather than being swept away by our emotions or distractions. One of the most effective ways to practice awareness is through simple activities that encourage full engagement with the present moment. Take, for example, the act of eating. When we eat mindfully, we focus solely on the food, its texture, its taste, and its aroma. We savor each bite, fully immersed in the experience. Instead of rushing through a meal or multitasking, we create space to truly appreciate what we're doing. This practice can be applied to any part of our day, whether it's a conversation, a task at work, or even just taking a walk. By staying present, we turn ordinary moments into powerful, enriching experiences. Another essential aspect of daily awareness is observing our thoughts and emotions. We all experience a wide range of thoughts and feelings throughout the day. Some of them are positive, and others may be negative or distracting. The key is to observe these thoughts and emotions without judgment or attachment. When we practice awareness, we don't identify with every thought that arises. We simply notice it and allow it to pass without getting caught up in it. This creates mental space and prevents us from being overwhelmed by the constant stream of thoughts that often dominate our minds. Developing daily awareness also helps us build emotional resilience. By staying present with our emotions, we can respond to them in a more balanced and healthy way. Rather than letting negative emotions control us, we can acknowledge them, understand their source, and decide how we want to act. When we're aware of our emotional states, we can make conscious choices instead of reacting impulsively. This emotional clarity allows us to stay calm under pressure and navigate challenges with confidence and poise. The practice of awareness extends beyond our internal world to our external environment. When we focus on the present moment, we begin to notice the world around us in new and vivid ways. The sounds, the sights, the textures, these all become more alive when we are fully engaged in the present. This awareness helps us appreciate the beauty in our surroundings and enriches our experience of life. Whether we're walking through a park, sitting in a cafe, or interacting with others, being present helps us connect more deeply with our environment and the people we encounter. Incorporating daily awareness into our lives doesn't require drastic changes or hours of meditation. It's about making small intentional shifts in how we approach each moment. Start by setting aside a few minutes each day to simply be present. Sit quietly and focus on your breath. Notice how your body feels, what thoughts arise, and how you respond to them. By practicing this mindfulness regularly, you can start to cultivate awareness throughout the day, no matter what you're doing. One powerful technique to help anchor yourself in the present is the use of breath. Breathing is always with us, and it's one of the easiest ways to bring ourselves back to the present moment. When we focus on our breath, we're immediately grounded in the here and now. By taking a few deep breaths and paying attention to the sensations of breathing, how the air enters and leaves the body, we can center ourselves and clear away distractions. This simple practice can be done anytime, whether you're at your desk, in a meeting, or feeling stressed. Another helpful practice is to regularly check in with yourself throughout the day. Take moments to pause, breathe, and assess how you're feeling. Are you overwhelmed, anxious, calm? By checking in, we increase our self-awareness and create space to adjust our mindset as needed. If you notice that you're feeling stressed, for example, you can take a moment to refocus on your breath or shift your attention to something positive. This practice helps prevent burnout and keeps you mentally sharp, no matter what challenges come your way. Daily awareness also plays a vital role in improving our relationships with others. When we're fully present in our interactions, we show others that we value them. Active listening, eye contact, and mindful engagement all come from a place of awareness. When we're aware of how others are feeling and reacting, we can respond more empathetically and with greater understanding. This creates deeper, more meaningful connections, both in personal and professional relationships. The key to staying mentally present is to make awareness a habit. Like any skill, it takes consistent practice. The more we incorporate mindful awareness into our daily lives, the easier it becomes to stay present in every situation. Over time, we begin to experience life with greater depth and richness, making us more focused, connected, and resilient. In conclusion, the practice of daily awareness is a powerful tool for staying mentally present and engaged in our lives. It allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, appreciate the beauty in our surroundings, and respond to challenges with clarity and calmness. By incorporating awareness into our daily routines, we transform ordinary moments into meaningful experiences. We become more attuned to ourselves and the world around us, leading to greater emotional resilience and deeper connections with others. Through the consistent practice of awareness, we create a life that is not only more focused, but also more fulfilling and authentic. Chapter 19. Reflect on social mistakes to grow stronger each time. We all make mistakes, especially in social situations. It's a part of being human, and it's something we all experience at some point in our lives. However, the key to turning those mistakes into growth opportunities lies in how we reflect on them. When we take the time to reflect on our social blunders, we allow ourselves to learn and grow from those experiences. We build resilience, deepen our understanding of ourselves and others, and become more skilled at handling social situations in the future. The first step to reflecting on social mistakes is to be aware of them in the first place. It's easy to overlook or brush off awkward interactions or comments, but the true potential for growth comes when we pause and think about what happened. Acknowledging our mistakes with openness and without judgment is a crucial step in the process. When we deny or suppress our mistakes, we miss the opportunity to learn from them. Accepting them as a natural part of our social experiences creates the foundation for improvement. Reflecting on social mistakes requires a mindset shift. Instead of viewing mistakes as something to be embarrassed about or avoided, we can choose to see them as learning experiences. Each time we falter in a social setting, it's an opportunity to evaluate our behavior, understand what went wrong, and find ways to do better next time. Mistakes don't define us, how we respond to them does. When we reflect with the intention of learning, we not only grow personally, but also become better equipped to handle similar situations in the future. One of the most important aspects of reflection is self-awareness. By honestly evaluating our actions and thoughts during a social interaction, we can gain insight into why we made certain choices. Did we say something that was insensitive? Did we react out of frustration or fear? Did we fail to listen when someone needed our attention? Being aware of the moments when we fall short is not a form of self-criticism, but a pathway to improvement. We have to be willing to confront ourselves and our mistakes honestly, without harsh judgment. This doesn't mean being overly critical or beating ourselves up for errors. It's about acknowledging where we could have done better. When we reflect on our mistakes, it's helpful to approach the process with curiosity. Rather than fixating on guilt or shame, we can ask ourselves questions like, what was my intention in that situation? What triggered my response? How can I handle this differently next time? These questions open the door to understanding our behavior more deeply. They allow us to explore our motivations and identify patterns in our actions that might need adjustment. This form of reflection encourages personal growth and self-improvement. Reflecting on social mistakes also involves considering the impact of our actions on others. Often when we make social blunders, we focus primarily on how we feel or how embarrassed we are. However, a key part of reflection is understanding how our behavior affected those around us. Did our words hurt someone's feelings? Did we dismiss someone's opinion or make them feel unheard? By considering the perspectives of others, we not only become more empathetic, but also more mindful of how our actions can shape the dynamics of our relationships. When we take responsibility for the impact of our behavior, we can make amends and repair any harm that may have been caused. Another essential part of reflecting on social mistakes is to practice forgiveness. After we acknowledge our errors and understand the impact they may have had, we need to let go of any lingering negativity or guilt. Holding on to regret or shame only weighs us down and prevents us from moving forward. Forgiving ourselves allows us to release the past and create space for growth. It's important to remember that making mistakes is a natural part of life and doesn't diminish our worth. We are all works in progress, and each mistake is simply a stepping stone on the path to becoming the best version of ourselves. In addition to self-reflection, we can also seek feedback from others. If we feel uncertain about how we handled a social situation, asking for constructive feedback can provide valuable insights. Sometimes, our own perspective is limited, and others may see things we didn't notice. Seeking feedback can be an opportunity to learn from others' experiences and perspectives. This doesn't mean seeking validation or approval, but rather using feedback as a tool for growth. By being open to receiving feedback, we show that we value other people's perspectives and are committed to becoming better communicators and individuals. One of the most powerful aspects of reflecting on social mistakes is the opportunity to develop emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage our emotions and the emotions of others. When we reflect on our social mistakes, we gain a deeper understanding of how our emotions influence our actions and how others may perceive us. By developing emotional intelligence, we become better equipped to navigate social interactions with empathy, patience, and understanding. We can learn to manage our emotions in a way that allows us to respond thoughtfully and appropriately in a variety of social situations. As we continue to reflect on and learn from our social mistakes, we begin to build resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks and challenges. By viewing social mistakes as opportunities for growth rather than failures, we strengthen our resilience. Each time we reflect on a mistake, we develop a greater ability to handle future challenges with confidence. We learn not to fear making mistakes, but instead to embrace them as part of the learning process. Over time, the more we reflect on our social mistakes, the more adept we become at navigating social situations with grace and self-assurance. We learn to trust ourselves and our ability to handle difficult conversations or awkward moments. We also learn to be more compassionate toward others, recognizing that everyone makes mistakes and that growth is a continuous process. As we build this resilience, we become more confident in our ability to engage with others and form meaningful, authentic relationships. Ultimately, reflecting on social mistakes allows us to grow stronger and more self-aware with each experience. Rather than avoiding or dismissing our mistakes, we can choose to reflect on them as valuable lessons. This process helps us improve our communication, deepen our relationships, and become more emotionally intelligent. It's through this reflective practice that we cultivate the wisdom to handle future social situations with greater ease and effectiveness. So, embrace your mistakes, reflect on them with curiosity and compassion, and use each one as an opportunity to become the best version of yourself. Chapter 20. Lead with compassion to inspire others through your presence. To lead with compassion is to create an atmosphere where others feel understood, valued, and empowered. It is an essential quality for anyone looking to inspire and guide others, whether in personal relationships or professional settings. Compassion isn't just a feeling or an emotional reaction. It is an active, intentional practice that comes from a place of empathy and respect. It involves listening, understanding, and responding to others with kindness and without judgment. Compassionate leadership creates an environment where people are encouraged to be their authentic selves, take risks, and grow. When you lead with compassion, your presence alone can inspire those around you. Compassionate leaders understand that their actions, words, and even silence have a profound impact on others. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to uplift, encourage, and empower. The mere act of being present with someone, offering a listening ear or a word of encouragement, can ignite a sense of trust and connection. People feel safe and supported, and in this environment, they are more likely to open up, share ideas, and contribute with confidence. The power of compassion in leadership is rooted in its ability to build genuine relationships. When you approach people with empathy and understanding, you create a bond that goes beyond transactional interactions. Compassion allows you to connect on a deeper level, to truly see and hear others without jumping to conclusions or making assumptions. This deep connection fosters a sense of belonging, where people feel accepted for who they are, not just for what they can do. This sense of belonging, in turn, increases motivation, loyalty, and engagement. True compassion goes beyond simply offering kind words or gestures. It requires taking the time to understand the challenges and struggles others are facing. This means listening without judgment, being patient when others need time to express themselves, and offering support when needed. Compassionate leaders ask questions not to critique or solve problems, but to understand where others are coming from. They don't rush to provide solutions, but instead allow space for others to process their emotions and find their own path forward. This approach creates an environment where people feel respected and heard, and their trust in you as a leader deepens. One of the most powerful ways compassion inspires others is through the example it sets. When you lead with compassion, you model the behavior that you wish to see in others. Compassion is contagious. It spreads naturally when it is demonstrated authentically. As people see how you handle difficult situations with grace, kindness, and understanding, they are more likely to adopt these behaviors in their own lives. A compassionate leader doesn't simply tell people to be kind or empathetic. They show through their actions how to approach others with respect and care. When compassion is modeled, it encourages others to take similar actions, creating a ripple effect that influences the entire group or organization. Moreover, compassionate leadership helps create a space where vulnerability is seen as a strength rather than a weakness. In many environments, there is a tendency to hide flaws, weaknesses, or emotions for fear of being judged. However, when compassion is present, people feel safer expressing their vulnerabilities. Vulnerability fosters authenticity, and authentic relationships are the foundation for meaningful connection and collaboration. When you lead with compassion, you create an environment where mistakes are seen as opportunities for growth, where challenges are met with support, and where vulnerability is celebrated as a part of the human experience. Leading with compassion also means recognizing the humanity in others. It involves seeing beyond the roles people play or the tasks they perform and acknowledging their full humanity, their strengths, their struggles, and their unique experiences. By seeing people as more than just workers or followers, you validate their worth and create an atmosphere where they feel appreciated for who they are. This recognition of humanity creates trust, a trust that is fundamental to any leadership role. When people trust you, they are more willing to follow your guidance, share their ideas, and contribute to the collective vision. Another important aspect of compassionate leadership is the ability to provide constructive feedback with kindness and sensitivity. Feedback is essential for growth, but how it is delivered can make all the difference. Compassionate leaders provide feedback in a way that encourages improvement without diminishing the person receiving it. They focus on specific behaviors or actions rather than attacking the person's character. This approach creates an environment where feedback is seen as a tool for personal and professional development rather than something to be feared or avoided. By offering feedback with compassion, you help others feel supported in their journey toward growth and improvement. Compassionate leadership also requires self-awareness. To lead with compassion, you must first be aware of your own emotions, triggers, and biases. This awareness allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It also helps you better understand the emotional dynamics of the people you are leading. By being attuned to your own emotional state and the emotions of others, you can make decisions that are aligned with the values of empathy, understanding, and respect. Self-awareness enables you to manage your emotions in a way that supports the well-being of both yourself and those you lead. In addition, compassion leads to resilience. As a compassionate leader, you understand that challenges and setbacks are a natural part of life. You model resilience by facing difficulties with grace and perseverance, and you encourage others to do the same. By demonstrating how to navigate hardship with compassion, you show others that it's not about avoiding challenges, but about learning and growing from them. Resilience built on compassion fosters a sense of hope and optimism, even in the face of adversity. One of the most inspiring aspects of compassionate leadership is its ability to uplift others. When people feel seen, heard, and supported, they are more likely to believe in their own potential. Compassionate leaders see the potential in others and provide the encouragement and resources needed to help them reach it. They don't just give orders or make demands, they guide and support others in a way that empowers them to take ownership of their growth and success. By believing in others and showing them that they are capable, compassionate leaders inspire greatness in those they lead. In summary, leading with compassion is not just about being kind or empathetic, it is about creating an environment where others feel safe, valued, and supported. It is about recognizing the humanity in those around you and leading by example. Compassionate leadership inspires others to be their best selves, fosters deeper relationships, and builds trust and loyalty. By leading with compassion, you inspire others to reach their full potential, to grow, and to contribute to a greater vision. It's not just about what you say or do, it's about the energy you bring into every interaction and the legacy of kindness, understanding, and empowerment that you leave behind. When you lead with compassion, your presence becomes a beacon of light that inspires others to follow their own path of growth and greatness.